Chapter 876. When the corpse race cultivators below saw the deformed Blackstone old revenant, they lost all will to fight and fled. This originally successful sneak attack was a complete failure. The destruction of the demonic corpses was a small matter. However, the death of a superior-grade martial sage would enrage the two young masters. Xiao Chun ignored these small fries and took out the ancient underworld river wave palm from the Blackstone old revenant's spatial ring. Then, he carefully studied it. Xiao Chun wanted to walk an unprecedented path. He wanted to use his body as a saber, infusing all the techniques of the 100 schools of thought into his body, using them as divine materials to refine this powerful treasure saber. Regardless of whether it was because of the will of cycles or his own great Tao, he had to research the death Tao sooner or later. After a while, Xiao Chun put away the ancient underworld river wave palm and closed his eyes to comprehend it. In the heavenly dew divine spring, everyone else had absorbed more essence than Xiao Chun had. His comprehension ability had already reached a horrifying level. With just one look, he roughly understood the principles of the ancient underworld river wave palm. When Xiao Chun opened his eyes again, he had already gained a lot. He muttered, "Not bad. The ancient underworld river wave palm is passable. When I subdue the death throne and obtain death chi, I will be able to execute this corpse race heaven ranked martial technique." How preposterous! Who does he think he is? At such a crucial moment, he did not even show himself. What is this Xiao Chun trying to do? The Azure Monarch Island's island master, Xia Feng, appeared very angry, throwing a tantrum in the great hall. The two superior-grade martial sages beside him also had unsightly expressions. Feng Xingxing, who was at the side, led the older generation martial sages of the Full Moon Pavilion in silence. They could not understand what Xiao Chun was trying to do. The Azure Monarch Island was attacked, yet Xiao Chun did not come to report after the matter was over. He was simply looking down on the island master here. When the Hao Ian sect disciples heard that Xiao Chun was being lectured, they felt extremely uncomfortable in their hearts. The tall and burly Jin Lin stepped forward and said, "Senior Xia, there's no need to be so angry. Senior brother, Xiao Chun definitely did not disrespect the three of you on purpose." When Xiao Xian heard this, she couldn't help but smile bitterly. This senior brother Jin Lin really didn't know how to speak. On the surface, he was comforting her, but he shouldn't have been so direct. Xia Feng and the other two older generation martial sages were clearly respected existences who cared a lot about their reputation. When they heard Jin Lin's words, it was like adding fuel to the fire. Lu Wu snorted coldly and said with a displeased expression, "Who do you think I am? This old man has accumulated 100,000 battle merits, and the Palace Lord of Bushin Palace personally conferred me the title of Green Emperor Marquis, the Island Lord of Green Emperor Island, and the person in charge of the 3 defense lines of Dragonwood Planet. Do you think that a mere disciple of the Hao Ian sect would respect me? In times of chaos, it is like enlisting in the army to fight a war. Since he came with reinforcements, he has to abide by the rules of Bushin Palace. He has to lead his troops to report. Even now, he has not even seen his shadow. What a scandal!" The yellow-robed old man on the right also said, "We need an explanation for today's matter. Otherwise, when the main force of the corpse race attacks in the future, if he does not listen to commands and disrupts the army's morale, there will be big trouble." When the blue-robed old man, Qin Wu, who once saved Jin Lin and the other two, heard that the two wanted to take this matter to the extreme, he quickly said, "Brother Lu, there's no need to be too angry. As for the details, we still have to wait for Xiao Chun to return first. There must be a reason for this." The yellow-robed old man immediately interrupted him rudely. "What reason could there be? In my opinion, he clearly saw that there was nothing going on, so he went out to search for treasures. He did not care about the reinforcements from Bushin Palace at all. There are many treasures in this resource pool." When the hot-tempered Jin Lin saw these two old fellows being unreasonable and taking advantage of the situation to make things difficult for Xiao Chun, how could he endure it? He immediately flared up, and a ruthless aura filled his burly body. Xiao Xian quickly stepped forward and said, "Seniors, our senior brother Xiao Chun would definitely not do such a preposterous thing. If I am not wrong, senior brother Xiao Chun should be chasing after the Blackstone Old Revenants group." When Xiao Feng heard this, he could not help but smile coldly. "Little girl, you really do not know the immensity of the heavens and the earth. Who is the Blackstone Old Revenant? Even we do not dare to say that we could defeat him. Yet he, a junior, dares to chase after them? Furthermore, there were more than 100 people who left with him. You are overestimating this brat." The moment Xiao Feng said this, he could no longer endure it. He shouted angrily, "You two old fellows, don't rely on your status to look down on others. Our senior brother, Xiao Chun, is not as unbearable as you make him out to be. Although senior brother Xiao Chun is young, now that the great chaos has started, age is no longer the norm. Just because you can't defeat an opponent does not mean that senior brother Xiao Chun cannot do it. That's right. No matter what, our senior brother Xiao Chun is an upright person. He would not run off to search for treasures at this time. You two old fellows, the moment you open your mouths, all you have to do is bully others. What is there to be proud of?" The group of junior generation disciples of the Haotian sect had long been dissatisfied with these two old fellows. The moment the battle ended, they did not even let them rest properly. Instead, they pulled them over and reprimanded them. With Jean Lin taking the lead, they all spoke up, directly opposing the two old fellows. "Good. A group of juniors came under orders to reinforce the army, yet you dare to disobey and speak rudely. As the Azure Monarch Marquis, I will detain you now and let you calm down." Xiao Feng revealed a sinister smile on his face. His expression was indistinguishable. Unexpectedly, he wanted to detain this group of juniors. Heavy footsteps resounded. Xiao Feng's direct descendants gathered in the Great Hall. A large group of elite martial sages drew their weapons and surrounded the group. The matter suddenly blew up. Feng Xingxing felt that something was wrong. However, he was cautious and did not show it on his face, not saying a word. Clearly, the blue-robed old man had not expected the matter to escalate to this point. He quickly said, "Island Lord Xia, the corpse race army is approaching. Dragonwood Star is in danger. This is a time when we need manpower. It is best to reduce the problem to a small one." However, the yellow-robed old man retorted, "Brother Qin, your words are wrong. With a great enemy before us, these people will naturally be a great help if we use them well. However, look at them. All of them are unruly and unruly. Just a few words, and they're already like this. If a great battle really comes, not only will they not be of any help, but they will even cause chaos and affect the morale of the army. If you want to deal with them, do it quickly. Just deduct 5,000 military merits and send them back." However, Xiao Feng did not say anything more. He said coldly, "Capture them all. Do you really think that Bushin Palace is a place for you little fellows to fool around in?" Xiao Xian's expression changed. Even with her extraordinary intelligence, she did not know what to do. She had not expected the situation to develop like this. The Azure Monarch Island martial sages in the Great Hall were clearly the elites of the island. Furthermore, there were many of them. If they fought, the juniors of the Haotian sect would definitely be at a disadvantage. However, given the personalities of Jean Lin and the others, they were not people who would give in easily. What should I do? What should I do? In an instant, thousands of thoughts flashed through Xiao Xian's mind. No matter how hard she tried, she could not think of a countermeasure. Stop! Who dares to touch the people of my Haotian sect? Just as Jean Lin and the others were about to make a move against the elite martial sages of the Azure Monarch Island, a cold shout came from outside the Great Hall. The voice was not loud, but it was very intimidating, like a knife stabbing into the sea of consciousness. Everyone could not help but stop what they were doing and look towards the entrance of the Great Hall. Senior brother Xiao Chun. The juniors of the Haotian sect all showed joy on their faces as they all called out in unison. Xiao Chun stood outside the door and looked at Xiao Feng. He said in a cold voice, "How awe-inspiring. You even dare to casually detain the true inheritors of my Haotian sect. When Xiao Chan approached the Azure Monarch Island, he had already clearly seen the situation in the Great Hall with his spiritual sense. At that time, Xiao Chan felt that something was wrong. He wanted to see what this Xiaofeng was up to, so he was not in a rush to enter. Who knew? These two people became more and more overbearing. When Xiao Chen arrived outside the Great Hall, the guard stopped him from entering. When he forced his way in, he saw the scene before him. When Xiaofeng saw Xiao Chen arrive, he did not panic. He smiled coldly and said, "Xiao Chen, you came at a good time. You came with the order to reinforce the army. Why did you not report with the disciples of your sect? Are you looking down on the Bushan Palace?" Xiao Chen's thoughts were as meticulous as a web. After many speculations, he already had a rough idea of what was going on. He retorted coldly, "Don't accuse me of anything. It is not that I'm looking down on the Bushan Palace. It is just that I'm looking down on you." Facing Xiao Chen's rudeness, not giving him any face, Xiaofeng could not help feeling stifled. He retorted angrily, "How bold! This old man accumulated 100,000 military merits and was conferred the title of Azure Monarch Marquis by the Bushan Palace's palace master, commanding the 3 lines of defense of Dragonwood Star. You came with the order to reinforce the army, yet you dare to disobey it? The order to reinforce the army?" Xiao Chan smiled coldly and said, "The order to reinforce the army is to reinforce the army of the Bushan Palace. However, it is an order from my Haoyan sect's first elder, Han Qinghe. It is also to protect the people of my Haoyan sect. You are just an insignificant island master. Who do you think you are to order me around?" The yellow-robed old man at the side leaped up and shouted, "What a sharp-tongued, arrogant brat. Island master, I'll go and capture this brat and teach him a lesson on behalf of his sect master." The yellow-robed old man soared into the air and clenched his fist. Then the law energy in his body surged. As the yellow-robed old man's deep cultivation flickered, an intense wind blew. Several inferior-grade martial sages with unstable foundations were blown over by this wind. "You're seeking death." When Xiao Chan saw that this person really dared to make a move, his expression turned cold, and his figure flashed. The sound of a treasured saber being unsheathed rang out. Xiao Chen's black hair fluttered without any wind, and his white robes fluttered. It was like he was the brightest saber in the world. His sharpness changed, unparalleled. Bang! The 2 fists clashed, and the yellow-robed old man vomited a mouthful of blood. Then, he flew back like a sharp arrow. He felt like a knife was scraping his arm. The pain was unbearable. The yellow-robed old man's sea of consciousness churned endlessly, and his mind buzzed. A strong will intimidated him into temporarily losing his ability to think. By the time the yellow-robed old man recovered his wits, he was already lying on the ground. The clothes on his right arm were tattered and covered in blood. The moment this scene appeared, it shocked everyone present. Xiaofeng's heart sank. Although the yellow-robed old man's talent was limited, he was only an early-stage, superior-grade martial sage. He had underestimated his opponent, but he was still a superior-grade martial sage. Unexpectedly, he could not even block one move from this brat. This was too frightening. Chapter 877. Whoosh! Just as he was lost in his thoughts, something flew in front of him. He caught it and looked at it. It was Xiao Chen's merit plate. There was a bright purple skull on it, dazzling everyone's eyes. Xiaofeng wondered if he was seeing things. "The Blackstone old ghost, you actually really killed him. This is impossible." His face was filled with shock as he looked at Xiao Chan in complete disbelief. Xiao Chan enunciated every word as he said in a threatening tone. "Bright purple skull, 10,000 military merits. You have to kill a superior-grade martial sage. Bushan Palace personally forged the military merit plate, authentic and genuine. How dare you, a mere island master, not believe it? You even dare to doubt the merit plate forged by Bushan Palace. This is simply disgraceful. Watch me capture you and teach you a lesson on behalf of your master." Xiao Chun took a step forward, wanting to charge at the Azure Monarch Marquis, Xiaofeng. Qin Wu, one of the 3 overseers of the island, quickly stopped him and said, Xiao Chun, how about we end this matter here? It was not that you were absent for no reason. Not only did you fail, but you were also rewarded. I apologize to you on behalf of Island Lord Xia. When Xiaofeng heard that Xiao Chun didn't even want to let him go, he felt a trace of fear when he saw the other party's sharpness. Then he saw the genuine bright purple skull on the merit plate. He knew that this matter couldn't be resolved peacefully, so he couldn't help but hesitate. Now that he heard Qin Wu say this, he found a way out of this embarrassing situation. He immediately said, "This is my fault. I can use my authority as the island lord to give each of your Haotian sect disciples 500 battle merits." With a wave of his hand, Xiao Chun pulled his merit medallion over and said coldly, "The disciples of the Haotian sect are all elites. They don't need you to give them their merit medallions. They will come out on their own. Since you've admitted your mistake, I won't pursue today's matter any further. Take care of yourself." Xiao Chun did not intend to continue to be unreasonable with the other party's humble attitude. Moreover, there was something fishy about this matter, and he needed to take his time to figure it out. "That's right, we don't need a small island lord like you to give us military merits. He's just a small island lord, yet he thinks he's someone important. Does he think we're beggars with just 500 battle merits?" The group of Haotian sect disciples did not care about Xiaofeng at all. With Xiao Chun here, they straightened their backs and spoke with confidence. The little island lord called out, "Little island lord," causing the Azure Monarch Marquis, Xiaofeng, to feel extremely embarrassed. However, he did not dare to flare up. His appearance was extremely funny. Xiao Chun smiled faintly and waited for this group of juniors to have enough fun before leading them out of the lobby. Seeing this group of people swaggering around, the Full Moon Pavilion's martial sages, who were watching them make a fool of themselves earlier, revealed envious expressions. Feng Xingxing sighed. After not seeing Xiao Chun for 2 years, Xiao Chen's strength had not regressed at all. Instead, his growth was startling. He could rival the peak outstanding talents of the starry Heaven Silver Lake. When he attacked, he had a different kind of demeanor, but he couldn't quite put his finger on it. However, Feng Xingxing could feel that demeanor. Not only did Xiao Chun have the bearing of an elder, but he also had the confidence of a powerful expert. Furthermore, they had the confidence of a powerful expert, which boosted the morale of these Supreme Sky Sect juniors, making them hot-blooded. When Feng Xingxing saw the experienced elders behind him, he could not help smiling bitterly. The overall strength of his group should be about the same as that of the Haotian sect. However, if they wanted to compete for battle merits, they could not compare to Xiao Chen's group. The reason was Feng Xingxing. Feng Xingxing did not have the demeanor that Xiao Chun had. He did not have the unrivaled confidence that gave the people of the sect. "Island Lord Xia, if there is nothing else, I will take my leave as well." Feng Xingxing performed a cupped fist salute to Xiaofeng and took his leave. Then, he led the Full Moon Pavilion's martial sages out of the lobby. After everyone left, only Xiaofeng and a yellow-robed old man remained in the lobby. When Xiaofeng saw the yellow-robed old man's bloody arm, which had yet to recover, he sighed, "It looks like there is really a problem this time. Brother Xiao, what are you afraid of? I sent you a voice projection earlier to take down this brat in one go. Why did you not listen to me and let him go for nothing?" The yellow-robed old man demanded, feeling aggrieved. Xiaofeng revealed a contemplative expression. He said, "You are thinking too simply. This brat defeated you with one punch. It was not just because you underestimated him. What should we do? You might be able to swallow this, but I cannot." When Xiaofeng heard this, his face sank. He smiled coldly and said, "I did not intend to let him off so easily. Now, it is already very difficult to find any evidence to use against him. However, I have my own ways to deal with him. At that time, I will make him beg for mercy before me like a dog." The yellow-robed old man looked around and asked, "Brother Xiao, what do you mean?" "Silence," Xiaofeng said cautiously. Then, with a sinister gaze, he said, "Just wait. Let him jump around for a few days first. This old man will ruthlessly slap him to death." At the camp of the Haotian sect on Azure Monarch Island, Xiao Chun stretched out his hand and placed it on the foreheads of Jin Lin, Xian Er, and Lu Ke. Then, he used the lightning-attributed energy to refine the death chi in their bodies. This old fellow is really ruthless. If I delay the death chi in your bodies any longer, there will be trouble. Xiao Chun withdrew his hand and scattered his energy. Then, he spoke to the three, whose complexions looked much better. However, Jean Lin laughed loudly and asked in a hurry, "Senior brother Xiao Chun, did you really kill that Blackstone old revenant?" Lu Ku and Xian hurriedly asked. The three of them were no match for the Blackstone old ghost, even after joining hands. They had personally experienced how powerful the other party was. Xiao Chun stood up and said, "The Blackstone old revenant is not considered a very powerful superior grade martial sage. What is difficult to deal with are the three specially refined underworld fire demonic corpses in his hands. Otherwise, he would not be considered much among cultivators of the same rank. My physical body has already reached the peak of rank 3 sage body. Coupled with the saber Dao that I cultivate, I do not fear his underworld fire demonic corpse. That's why it was easy to kill him." When the three of them heard Xiao Chun say it casually, but they did not believe him, they secretly admired him. The scene of his fluttering long hair and fluttering white robes in the great hall had left a deep impression on the three of them. The instant Xiao Chun took a step forward, a boundless light seemed to shine from his body, like the brightest treasured saber in the world. The three of you don't need to belittle yourselves so much. If you cooperate well and don't be greedy, you'll definitely be able to win. With just the three of you, you can fight to a draw with the Blackstone old revenant without his demonic corpses. This time, I purposely did not make a move to teach you a lesson." Xiao Chun could tell that the three of them were somewhat anxious. If he did not teach them a lesson, it would be pointless. If he said it again, it would be more convincing. The three of them lowered their heads awkwardly. After Xiao Chun said this, they could not find any words to retort. Xiao Chun took out a sea map and gathered the three of them together. Then he pointed to several sea maps occupied by the corpse race and said, "After this round of harassment by the corpse race, there will probably be peace for a while. You can use this time to obtain military merits. After boasting in front of Xiaofeng, it would be laughable if I couldn't get any military merits. This great chaos isn't just a fortuitous encounter for geniuses. Although our names aren't well known for now, there's no guarantee that we won't be famous one day." When the three heard Xiao Chun talk about proper matters, their expressions turned serious. Jean Lin felt his blood boil. He said, "That Xiaofeng keeps calling himself the Azure Monarch Marquis. 100,000 military merits. This time, I have to obtain 100,000 marquis as well." However, Lu Ku and Xian laughed softly. What a braggart. Xiao Chun smiled as well. Of the three, the one he thought the most highly of was Jean Lin. Jean Lin's talent and sharpness were excellent. However, he was not mature enough. With some polishing, he would definitely have some accomplishments. The three of you will lead the team. Every afternoon, when the death chi is at its weakest, you can go to these islands to harass them. However, remember to stop when you're ahead. When I returned, I checked out the situation of the surrounding sea region. As long as you do as I say, there should not be any problems." After saying that, Xiao Chun pointed to the other islands and said, "Don't go to these islands. They have superior grade martial sages guarding them. I'll let you know when you can go." After that, Xiao Chun gave pointers based on the three's earlier battles, pointing out their shortcomings. After a long time, the three left happily. Only Xiao Chun remained in the room. He opened his hand, and a cauldron appeared in his universe ring. Dragons and phoenixes were carved on the cauldron, looking very lifelike. A fierce purple flame burned in the cauldron, and there was a jade-white egg in the middle of the flame. The cauldron was the Dragon Phoenix cauldron. The flame was the much stronger purple Thunder True Fire. Naturally, the egg was the Golden Crow egg. Xiao Chun needed to extract a trace of the Solar True Fire's origin flame to hatch this Golden Crow egg. As of now, Xiao Chun did not have the ability to do so. However, the Purple Thunder True Fire was also an extreme yang flame. If he used its origin flame to hatch the egg, there should be some effect. Xiao Chun looked carefully. After 1.5 years of nourishment by the Purple Thunder True Fire, there were indeed some cracks in the jade-white egg shell. However, they were as thin as hair and were barely noticeable. Xiaochen did not know how long it would take before he could truly hatch this golden crow egg. However, there was at least some hope, giving him some hope. After putting away the dragon phoenix cauldron, Xiaochen paced around the room. Then he thought about the conflict between him and Xiaofeng in the Great Hall that day. After he was done, he was even more certain of his guess. Everything in the world revolved around the word benefit. It was either benefit oneself or benefit others. How could there be hatred for no reason? The third line of defense of Bushin Palace on Dragon with Star was mainly made up of 3 islands: Azure Monarch Island, White Monarch Island, and Black Monarch Island. At this moment, Bai Wuxiwe and Shimen Bao were drinking wine and chatting on Black Monarch Island. Shimen Bao took a sip of wine and smiled. "Brother Bai, you really showed off your might this time. Snow covering the mountains and rivers. Those corpse race demonic corpses were all frozen into ice. The people on the island were all stunned." Bai Wuxiwe felt very cocky in his heart. However, he smiled modestly and said, "They're just monarch-grade demonic corpses. They are nothing before true experts. Since the descendants of the White-Bone Sovereign and the Underworld Fire Sovereign are here, they must have brought sage-grade demonic corpses as well." Shimen Bao knew what to say at this moment. He offered a toast and said, "Hee, Brother Bai is too humble. I killed 10-odd medial-grade martial sages and gained 3,000 military merits in one go. Who can compare to me? I will definitely be conferred king this time." Black Monarch Island was the same as Azure Monarch Island. They were attacked as well. Bai Wuxiwe was indeed terrifyingly strong. After obtaining the Snow Race's inheritance and comprehending it thoroughly, he managed to kill several demonic corpses and superior-grade martial sages. Bai Wuxiwe took a sip of wine and did not reply. 100,000 marquises, 1,000,000 kings. The sons of the 3 holy masters had not been conferred king in Bushin Palace yet. Bai Wuxiwe was still somewhat self-aware. However, he was still confident of suppressing the crowd and obtaining 100,000 military merits. Chapter 878. As the two chatted, a spirit bird flew in. Shimen Bao asked out of curiosity, "Who sent the letter?" Bai Wuxiwe took out a piece of paper from the bird's leg and said, "I asked an elder of the Full Moon Pavilion to keep an eye on Xiaochen and see how many military merits he has." Shimen Bao was unhappy with Xiaochen. He laughed loudly and said, "There's no need to look. That brat cannot compare to Brother Bai. No matter how powerful an inferior-grade martial sage is, he is only SOSO. This time, Brother Bai will definitely trample on him." Bai Wuxiwe, who opened the piece of paper, was stunned, somewhat in disbelief. He read it a few times before confirming that he had not seen wrong. Bright purple skull. Killed the Black Stone Old Revenant. Obtained 10,000 military merits. Killed too many demonic corpses. Too many to count. When Shimen Bao heard Bai Wuxiwe read out the contents of the piece of paper, the wine cup he was holding to his lips fell to the ground and shattered. Shimen Bao could not close his mouth for a long time. The army of the corpse race had already occupied the second line of defense. One of the islands produced black patterned stones, which could be used to refine the rare black patterned gold. The corpse race army did not refine much each time. However, after 8 to 10 years, the quantity would be considerable. It would be more than enough to refine a subdivine weapon. This island was called Black Pattern Island. It was also the main island of the second line of defense. The White-Bone Sovereign's descendant, Long Fei, and the Underworld Fire Sovereign's descendant, Wei Hua, were currently discussing matters in a great hall on the island. Their expressions were extremely relaxed. There were 2 other people beside the two. One of them was Wang Qian. Although his great-grandfather was a corpse race martial emperor, he was not a sovereign martial emperor. His status in the corpse race was far below that of Long Fei and Wei Hua. The other person's identity was very interesting. It was hard to imagine that he would appear together with Wei Hua again. This person was the Iron Hand Sovereign's descendant, Kuei Do. The grudge between the Iron Hand Sovereign and the Underworld Fire Sovereign had caused a huge commotion back then. Even the descendants of the younger generation had many different versions of the story. The White-Bone Sovereign's descendant, Long Fei, was very fair and clean. He dressed like a scholarly young master and held a folding fan in his hand. This was a great contrast to the corpse race people. Because of their special physical body cultivation methods, most of the corpse race's members had dark skin. Coupled with the fact that they cultivated the Tao of death, they appeared even gloomier. Very few of them had the appearance of a pale scholar like Long Fei. Long Fei looked at the silent Kuei-do. Then, he fanned himself and smiled gently. Brother Kuei-do, you should not regret not continuing to the starry heaven Silver Lake, right? Kuei-do was a good friend of Long Fei. The two of them could be said to be bosom buddies. Half a month ago, Kuei-do had temporarily left the starry sky Silver Lake due to his injuries. When he heard that a storm was about to descend upon the starry sky Silver Lake, he had coincidentally received Long Fei's invitation. Thus, he had come a dragon would start dubiously. In the letter, the other party had written a lot about the benefits of occupying a resource star. The benefits were much better than the benefits obtained in the starry sky Silver Lake. At first, he did not believe it. Resource stars were rare, and every race would send a large number of troops to guard them. How could two resource stars be taken down so easily? When Xiaochen arrived at Dragonwood Star and saw Long Fei and Wei Hua easily occupy most of the sea region, he completely believed Xiaochen. In the past 2 years, Kuei-do's physical body had become even more powerful. He even showed signs of breaking through to rank 4 Sage body. A casual strike of Kuei-do's could reach 1,500 tons of force. When he used his physical body martial techniques, he could achieve 2,500 tons of force. According to legend, the heaven dragon that existed during the Immortal epoch could achieve 5,000 tons of force in one strike. That was one dragon force. 2,500 tons of force was half a dragon force. By relying on his strong physical body and half a dragon force, although Kuei-do was not as glorious as people like Di-Wuk in the starry heaven Silver Lake, he still flourished. If he hadn't been injured by a genius of the Azura race who had just appeared, he wouldn't have had to temporarily retreat. When Kuei-do heard Long Fei's question, he smiled gently and replied, "There are all sorts of benefits in the starry heaven Silver Lake. There are 10,000-year-old spirit herbs, spirit beasts with the bloodlines of living creatures, and all sorts of precious divine materials. However, most of them were obtained by Di-Wuk's group. The main thing in the starry heaven Silver Lake is combat comprehension. If it were just me, the benefits I obtained in this Dragonwood Star are far greater than in the starry heaven Silver Lake. The only thing I lack is demonic geniuses. Fighting with me is somewhat boring." Wonkin walked over and said, "Brother Kuei-do, there is no need to worry too much. This time, the Bushan Palace has already sent strong reinforcements. I heard that the descendant of the Qing Emperor, Xiao Chun, who disappeared for 2 years, is among them." Bai Wuxiue and the others had not known that the Haoyan sect would send Xiao Chun to lead the team. Unexpectedly, Wang Qin knew. This was very strange. Kuei-do felt that there was a reason for this. However, this was to be expected. If there was no special reason, how could Long Fei and Wei Hua let the prepared Dragonwood Star suffer a crushing defeat after taking down 2 resource stars? Kuei-do did not care about this. What he cared about was Xiao Chun. He came at the right time. After not seeing him for 2 years, I hope he will not disappoint me, Kuei-do said with a sullen expression. 2 years ago, Xiao Chen's punch in the Sage Mark Monument had beaten him up like a dog. Kuei-do would never forget that. Wei Hua walked over with a cold expression and said, "Don't worry. It would have been fine if he had hidden forever. Now that he has shown himself again, I will let him know that there are some people that he cannot cheat." Although Kuei-do did not fight with Xiao Chen 2 years ago, he had cheated him miserably. Although he did not lose much, the news spread everywhere. He had completely lost face. Kuei-do was the descendant of a bona fide sovereign martial emperor. In this age of geniuses, he would definitely rise up. How could he leave such a stain on his reputation? The white-faced Long Fei fanned himself with a folding fan. Curiosity stirred in his heart. He said, "You are all outstanding talents, heroes among people. To think that you all fell at this brat's hands. I really want to see how incredible this person is. Young masters, the teams that went to scout have all retreated. The detailed battle reports have already been prepared. A corpse race cultivator outside the hall quickly walked in and handed over a stack of battle reports before kneeling on the ground. Wei Hua's face lit up in joy. His figure flashed as he stepped forward and picked up the battle reports. He smiled and said, "Good. Let me see how strong the reinforcements are." Wei Hua took out the first battle report and revealed a disdainful expression. He smiled faintly and said, "Indeed, the 1,000 mystery sects Hua Dao and the battle realms Niu Deng. As I expected, they are somewhat strong. However, they're only SOSO. Wei Hua took out the second battle report, and his disdainful expression vanished. He frowned slightly and said, "This by Wu Shue is rather problematic. Despite obtaining the Snow Race's inheritance, he actually destroyed a group of monarch-grade demonic corpses and killed 10-odd medial-grade martial sages. He nearly dragged out the leader, Elder Sun." When Kuei Do heard this, he said, "I fought with this by Wu Shue in the Starry Heaven Silver Lake. He is indeed a powerful person." However, Long Fei did not care. He said, "They're just monarch-grade demonic corpses. No matter how many are destroyed, there is no need to feel too much heartache over the losses of medial-grade martial sages. Since Elder Sun managed to return, it is already worth it to test him out." Wei Hua felt the same way as well. Although Bai Wu Shue was a powerful person, he did not feel any fear. He picked up the third battle report with a somewhat gloomy expression. This report recorded the process of the Blackstone Old Revenant's team probing Azure Monarch Island. After Wei Hua unfolded it, his expression changed drastically with just one look. He exclaimed, "What? The Blackstone Old Revenant actually died?" A team of 100 could not even delay him for a moment. Wang Qian, Long Fei, and Kuei Do were all startled. They quickly read through the battle reports, their eyes filled with disbelief. "How bold of him! He dares to block a team of 100 people from my corpse race alone," Long Fei said in rage as he waved the folding fan in his hand. Wang Qian said somewhat worriedly, "This fellow is clearly here to kill Elder Blackstone. He probably let those inferior-grade martial sages go on purpose. He does not care about them at all." Kuei Do smiled coldly and said, "Good. If he had turned into a worm, it would not be interesting for me to trample on him." Whoosh! A metal sword pierced through the wall and flashed, flying towards Wei Hua. Wei Hua stretched out his hand and caught it. Then, he slowly revealed a smile on his face. He said, "What a great fellow, Xiao Chun. This is a great help to me. In less than 2 months, Dragonwood Star will definitely change hands." Wang Qian quickly asked, "Brother Wei, why are you so happy? What news did that person send?" Long Fei casually shook his hand and shattered the metal sword into pieces. He said calmly, "This time, Xiao Chun will definitely die. Someone has already thought of a countermeasure for us. Come, let's go and make some preparations first. Then, we will wait for the good news and make our move at any time." Back on Black Monarch Island, Xia Feng, the yellow-robed old man, and Qin Wu, the 3 upper echelon members of the island, went to Xiao Chen's residence together. For the past few days, Xiao Chun had remained in seclusion, continuously comprehending and perfecting his Tao. He did not spend all his time on his cultivation. Right now, his Saber Tao was the most important. It had already reached a critical juncture. Every day, a large number of ideas appeared and were quickly rejected. At the same time, he was waiting for some people to make a move. Today, it had finally arrived. Little friend Xiao Chun, Brother Xia, and Brother Xiao have already reflected on what happened in the Great Hall. This old man will help me set up a connection and get the 2 of them to apologize to you again. Consider it as no discord, no concord. After Qin Wu entered, he lowered his status and spoke sincerely to Xiao Chun. Xia Feng and the yellow-robed old man also had smiles on their faces as they said some seemingly sincere words. Xiao Chun smiled coldly in his heart, but his expression did not change. He looked at Xia Feng and said, "Island Master Xia, you probably did not come here just to apologize, right?" Xia Feng did not show any anger on his old face. Instead, he said somewhat apologetically, Little friend Xiao Chun, you misunderstand. This time, I am indeed here to apologize to little friend. At the same time, I also brought a token from Senior Huangpu. I hope that little friend Xiao Chun can officially go out and harass the corpse race army. If I continue to pretend, I will expose my whereabouts to the upper echelon of the corpse race as soon as I go out. Boundless danger awaits me. Xiao Chun received the token and casually placed it on the table. He said coldly, if I'm not wrong, Island Master Xia spent a lot of effort to obtain this token from Senior Huangpu, right? Xia Feng, who was exposed, was clearly stunned. Although he quickly covered it up, it could not escape Xiao Chen's eyes. Xiao Chun could not be bothered to say more. He closed his eyes and ignored Xia Feng. Humph! How bold of you, Xiao Chun. Now, you even dare to disobey Lord Huangpu Feng's orders. Just you wait. I will definitely report this matter. The Bushan Palace will not let you off so easily. Chapter 879. Xia Feng revealed his true colors and left ruthlessly. Then, he led the yellow-robed old man away, leaving behind an embarrassed Qin Wu. Old Mr. Qin, there is no need to feel conflicted. In less than 7 days, everything will come to light. Xiao Chen opened his eyes and said something that Qin Wu could not understand. Now, Xiao Chen was 100% sure of his guess. How could Xiao Chen tolerate such an ambitious person? After old Qin left in a daze, Xiao Chen stood up and his eyes turned cold. This Xia Feng definitely did not expect that I would dare to reject Huangpu Feng's orders. Within 7 days, he will definitely inform the corpse race that there is a change in the plan. At that time, I will be able to catch him easily. I will kill this scoundrel. Otherwise, I will not be able to fight to the death with the corpse race. Think about it. If you focused on fighting at the front, and someone informed the enemy of your movements, what kind of terrifying scene would that be? However, before that, it is time to subdue and suppress the death throne. Now that my immortal will of thunder has reached 40% comprehension, and I have advanced to martial sage, what is there to fear? A light flashed on Xiao Chen's forehead, and a black light came out. This was one of the 7 thrones, the death throne. Massacre, destruction, grief, pain, despair, death. The 7 thrones looked like they were all negative emotions. However, when one thought about it, the cycle from massacre to death was a cycle from life to death. The state of cycle definitely surpassed all the states in the world. It was on the same level as the state of primal chaos formed by Chu Chayan's state of light and darkness. They both pointed to the origin of the great Tao. However, it was still too far away now. Xiao Chun had only collected 2 thrones. He could not bite off more than he could chew. He had to subdue the death throne first and be able to circulate death chi. Xiao Chen's spiritual sense flew out of his forehead with a purple lightning talisman. With a flash of electric light, it entered the throne. A boundless sea of death chi appeared before Xiao Chen's eyes. With the experience of subduing the massacre throne, the purple lightning talisman hovered above Xiao Chen's head as it flew towards the sea of death. No matter how vast the sea was, it would not go on forever. Occasionally, black tentacles leaped out of the sea and swung at the body formed by Xiao Chen's spiritual sense. However, before they could touch it, the electric saber chi from the talisman shattered them. This did not stop Xiao Chen from advancing. The further he went, the denser the death chi became. The talisman above him sent out strands of electric light, encasing Xiao Chen and preventing him from being to it. Junior, you finally came out. Just as Xiao Chen flew to the end, the death chi below surged and surged back, forming a 1-kilometer-tall demonic figure that looked down at Xiao Chen from above. Xiao Chen's figure wavered, and his spiritual sense body became 1,000-fold larger. He looked at that demonic figure and said, I should be the one saying that. You finally could not resist coming out. It looks like the deterrence of my purple lightning talisman is rather strong. Naturally, this demonic figure was the item spirit of the death throne. However, the evil king was already dead, and this item spirit had mutated long ago. It was now an evil spirit. Humph! It is just the immortal will of thunder. How much harm do you think it can do to me? I'll give you a chance to become stronger. Sign an equal contract with me and help me recover my strength. I will provide you with death chi. The demonic figure did not even look at the purple lightning talisman. It did not care at all as it made a condition for Xiao Chun. Xiao Chun found it funny. This demonic figure really knows how to act. It will not shed a tear until it sees the coffin. Xiao Chun stretched out his hand and pointed. Without any warning, the purple lightning talisman flew towards the demonic figure. Instantly, a flickering electric light crackled within the demonic figure. The demonic figure's body shrank continuously as it howled in pain. Finally, it shrank back to its normal human form and rolled around on the surface of the sea. In the past, Xiao Chun would not have been confident of dealing with this evil spirit with just 10% of the immortal will of thunder. Now, there was nothing to fear. If this evil spirit was truly powerful, Wonkin would not have been defeated by it back then. It could only be said that this evil spirit was just bluffing. The demonic figure could not use much of the Death Throne's energy. Like the Massacre Throne's evil spirit, it was still accumulating energy. Stop! Stop! I'll sign a contract with you and be your servant forever. I know all the secrets of the Death Throne. I can help you ascend to the Death Great Tao and surpass all the martial emperors of the corpse race and ghost race. The demonic figure could not help begging for mercy amid the pain. As an evil spirit, you should not exist in this world in the first place. Go in peace. What I seek is the Tao of reincarnation, my own ultimate saber Tao. I do not care about the Death Great Tao. How could Xiao Chun believe the words of such an evil being? Furthermore, he did not care about the Death Great Tao either. Xiao Chun subdued the 7 thrones and grasped the state of cycle. His ultimate goal was to serve as Saber Tao. The Tao of reincarnation was also created by someone before him. Xiao Chen's martial Tao was a path that no one had ever taken before or since. He embraced many schools of thought, using his body as a saber and his thoughts as a saber, creating a supreme Saber Tao. Amid the demonic figure's dissatisfied cries, Xiao Chun used the will of thunder to refine it. Then he placed a spiritual mark on the Death Throne, officially subduing 2 of the 7 thrones. Xiao Chen's spiritual sense and the purple lightning talisman returned to his body. Then, he withdrew the Death Throne into his sea of consciousness. The 2 thrones, one red and one black, slowly spun in his sea of consciousness. The purple lightning talisman was like an aloof king, looking down on the 2 thrones. With a thought, black death chi came out of Xiao Chen's fingertips. He smiled in satisfaction and said, I should be able to execute the ancient underworld river wave palm now. The Death Great Tao is really miraculous. Unexpectedly, the death chi in the world can bring out such great might. Xiao Chun closed his eyes and carefully comprehended, merging several mysteries of the Death Great Tao with the Saber Tao. By the time Xiao Chun opened his eyes, the sky had already turned dark. He had spent an entire day on this. However, he had gained a lot. If he ran into the corpse race's people, he would definitely be able to give them a pleasant surprise. After looking at the sky outside the window, Xiao Chun put on the heavenly sea cloak and sneaked out. When he arrived above the palace where Xia Feng resided, he activated the cloak's special effect, completely concealing himself. For the entire night, everything in the palace was normal. There was nothing out of the ordinary. Every day, Xia Feng would use his flying sword to report the situation on the island to Huangpu Feng's headquarters. Xiao Chun was very patient. He was also very confident of his guesses. The other party would definitely give himself away. In the end, after 3 days, Xia Feng did not make any strange movements. Just as Xiao Chen's patience was about to run out, Xiao Chun finally discovered something wrong on the 7th day. As usual, Xia Feng sent out a flying sword message. 2 hours later, Xia Feng strangely sent out another flying sword message. 2 hours later, another strange flying sword flew out. Xiao Chun looked carefully. That flying sword flew in the direction of the corpse race's main camp. However, after flying halfway, it quickly turned around and headed for the corpse race's black patterned island. What a fellow! He finally gave himself away. Xiao Chun smiled faintly and revealed himself. Then, he quickly chased after the flying sword. The flying sword moved strangely fast, like a beam of light. Even when Xiao Chun executed his Thunder Dragon steps to its limits, he could not catch up. In the end, he used the cloak's acceleration function and barely managed to catch the flying sword. Xiao Chun sent in his spiritual sense, and information entered his mind. That fellow is very cautious. He is starting to suspect me. Change of plans. Don't touch him for now. However, Bai Wuxiue is a little restless. He wants to lead the elite martial sages of Black Monarch Island to launch a surprise attack on your flank. Using lightning quick means to kill everyone on the island. You can surround them and take down Black Monarch Island in one go. After that, you can break through the third line of defense. Remember, after we loot Dragonwood Star, according to our agreement, you have to give me half of the resources. Xiao Chun toyed with the metal sword in his hand. His expression turned somewhat grave. Xiaofeng was the commander of the third line of defense. Unexpectedly, he had become the enemy's spy. However, when Xiao Chun thought about the reward, he felt that it was indeed tempting. There was an entire resource star's worth of wealth. Now that Xiao Chun had nothing on him, he could not help feeling tempted. After putting away the metal sword, Xiao Chun turned around and barged into Qin Wu's residence, startling the other party, who was cultivating. When Xiao Chun explained his purpose for coming and showed Qin Wu the information on the metal sword, Qin Wu flew into a rage. Qin Wu flew into a rage and went completely berserk. He cursed. I was wondering why the first two defensive lines were broken so quickly. 2 resource planets were plundered in succession. It can be said that the corpse race's surprise attack was effective. However, not only did this Dragonwood Star take in the remaining experts of the first 2 resource stars, but it also made preparations. It should not have suffered such a miserable defeat. It turns out that this is because of this traitorous dog. The impression that this old man before Xiao Chun gave him was that he was the kind of person who tried to smooth things over. Xiao Chun had not expected this old man to have such a huge reaction after learning the truth. Xiao Chun, it looks like he purposely targeted you from the start. Come, let's go and kill this traitor now. Qin Wu did not want to drag things out, so he immediately pulled Xiao Chun over to kill this spy. Xiao Chun originally thought so as well. However, when he saw the information on the flying sword, he changed his mind. Elder Qin, you should know how to send a flying sword, right? Qin Wu asked doubtfully. I do. Why? Xiao Chun narrowed his eyes and smiled. Good. In that case, let's not bother with this traitor for now. Just send this metal sword over in its original form. We can beat him at his own game. Beat him at his own game? Qin Wu asked with some doubt. How do we beat him at his own game? Xiao Chun smiled faintly and unfurled the sea chart. The second line of defense consisted of 3 islands and 10-odd subsidiary islands. In the past few days, the junior generation disciples of the Haotian sect had been reaping the fruits of their labor on these subsidiary islands. They harassed the Haotian sect and left after 1 round of attacks. Every time, they would reap a large harvest. However, in the end, these subsidiary islands did not have any main forces. They did not have any superior grade martial sages guarding them. The corpse race still sent people there mainly to collect as many resources as possible. The ordinary people on the subsidiary islands needed someone to supervise and make arrangements. Only then would they be able to continue mining and gathering spirit herbs at the bottom of the sea. Chapter 880. In particular, whether it was the corpse race or the other races, they would not take the initiative to attack mortals in this kind of battle on a resource star. Otherwise, it would be a great taboo. The mortals also knew this logic. No matter who occupied the resource planet, their treatment and rewards would not change. They would not resist their orders too much. In any case, they were the same as everyone else. The basic remuneration would not be reduced. It was just that the resources that they dug up would be delivered to a different target. Right now, the main force of the corpse race is concentrated on Black Pattern Island. There are probably no less than 20 superior grade martial sages there. There are also Long Fei and Wei Hua, 2 demonic geniuses who far surpass regular superior grade martial sages. A large number of saint-tier demonic corpses are probably on this island as well. Old sir, what do you think about the strength of the corpse race? Qin Wu muttered. They are very strong. Dragonwood Star has taken in the cultivators of the first 2 resource stars. Right now, there are only 30 superior grade martial sages. Black Monarch Island, White Monarch Island, and Azure Monarch Island have 3 superior grade martial sages each. The rest are in the main camp. Xiao Chun raised his eyebrows, and a smile appeared on his delicate face. He said, "They are indeed very strong. Not to mention that the corpse race has mastered the secret method of refining demonic corpses. The large number of corpses in battle will also increase their strength. The more they fight, the stronger they become. But to refine a devil corpse, they need a corpse refining pool. It is not easy to build a corpse refining pool, and it requires a lot of effort and time. As long as this corpse refining pool is destroyed, their devil corpse will die, and when the devil corpse is killed, they will lose even if they don't lose. The strength of the corpse race lay in the demonic corpses. Without the demonic corpses, with their numbers, no matter how powerful they were, they could only be massacred when faced with human cultivators who outnumbered them by several times. Qin Wu said, "I know this. However, the corpse refining pool has already been moved to Black Pattern Island. There will definitely be strong soldiers guarding it. Destroying this corpse refining pool is easier said than done." Xiao Chun pointed to Black Monarch Island and smiled. Now, the opportunity is here. When Long Fei and the others found out that Bai Wuxue wanted to kill the elite martial sages of Black Monarch Island, they will definitely lay a heavy ambush. We will also have to mobilize many of the forces on Black Pattern Island to fight a beautiful victory. The most important thing is that if I want to suppress Bai Wuxue easily, Long Fei and Wei Hua will have to work together. Just one of them will be enough for Bai Wuxue to leave. That will be my chance. Qin Wu's eyes lit up. He felt that this plan was feasible. With Xiao Chen's strength, without Long Fei and Wei Hua holding him back, he should be able to infiltrate Black Pattern Island and leave easily. However, in the blink of an eye, he started to worry. He said, "This is not appropriate. Watching Bai Wuxue and the others jump into the fire pit is a little. Once the corpse refining pool is broken, it is only a matter of time before the corpse race falls. The situation of Dragonwood Star can be reversed in an instant. As for Bai Wuxue, he clearly came up with such a risky move for the sake of military merits. He only has himself to blame. However, don't worry. Bai Wuxue and Shimin Bao will not die. Once the corpse refining pool can no longer hold out, Long Fei and Wei Hua will definitely return to save them." After hearing Xiao Chen's words, Qin Wu considered the big picture for a long time. Finally, he made up his mind and said, "In that case, we will do as you say. Brother Xiao Chun has done a great job by finding the traitor. If we can break the corpse refining pool, it will be another great job. I will definitely report this to the higher-ups. At that time, there will definitely be military merits. It might even be possible for me to be conferred a marquis." Breaking the corpse refining pool was equivalent to resolving the crisis of a resource star. In terms of practical use, it would be much more useful than killing many martial sages. The military merits would definitely be high. After Qin Wu finished speaking, he formed hand seals, and the iron sword flew back to Black Pattern Island. As Qin Wu watched the iron sword fly away, his expression remained grave. He said, "Even if there are no peak demonic geniuses like Long Fei and Wei Hua near the corpse refining pool, there will be plenty of older generation superior grade martial sages. The danger of this trip will not be low. Take care." Naturally, Xiao Chen knew how dangerous it was. However, as long as Long Fei and Wei Hua were not around, given his current strength, no matter how many people surrounded him, he would still be able to leave. This Xiao Chun is really bold. In the end, whether this plan succeeds or not will depend on his personal strength. Otherwise, not only will he not be able to destroy the corpse refining island, but he will also lose the elite martial sages of Black Monarch Island. As Qin Wu watched Xiao Chen leave, he felt somewhat unfathomable. Exactly how strong was this person? After Xiao Chen returned, he immediately gathered Jin Lin, Xiao Xian, and Lu Ku. He instructed the 3 of them to lead a team tomorrow and carry out a big operation. After Jean Lin heard this, he could not help but smile joyfully. We are finally going to attack an island with a superior grade martial sage. With this, our military merits will soar. Over the past few days, the three of them had not only gained a bountiful harvest, but their strength had also increased significantly. They had successfully broken through to medial grade martial sage. In terms of cultivation, they were even higher than Xiao Chun. However, even though they were medial grade martial sages, when the three looked at Xiao Chun, they still found him unfathomable and unfathomable. They could not underestimate him at all. Right now, Xiao Chun did not focus on cultivating. His cultivation remained at peak inferior grade martial sage. He focused most of his attention on his saber Dao. As long as he comprehended his saber Dao, it would not be difficult for him to raise his cultivation. Go ahead and make your move tomorrow. There is no need to run after fighting like the past few days. The other party will not send any reinforcements. Your mission is to kill the superior grade martial sage on the island. Do not let him leave alive. We promise to do it, the three answered in unison. After giving a few more instructions, Xiao Chun dismissed the three. Then, he placed a jade strip containing a star chart in his hand and carefully sized up the resource stars in the nearby starry domains. Xiao Chen's gaze fell on the two resource stars that the Corpse God Palace had already occupied. A bright light flashed in his eyes as he continued to look up to the resource stars that the corpse race controlled. Then he entered deep thought. As Xiao Chun made arrangements, Wei Hua and the others, who received the message by the flying sword, rejoiced. Wei Hua held the metal sword in his hand and smiled. Bai Wuxue, what a good fellow. He is very bold. Unexpectedly, he wants to wipe out all the corpse race troops on the islands to the side. What a fool. Right now, the two armies are locked in a stalemate. Whoever makes a mistake will be consigned to eternal damnation. Since he wants to play big, I will play big with him. Brother Long Fei, go and inform the young master of the Muddy Sky Gate. Tomorrow, we will destroy Bai Wuxue and break the third line of defense. Then, we will attack the Bushin Palace's main camp and take down Dragon Wood Star in one fell swoop. Long Fei said, the Bushin Palace's main camp is not that easy to break. Even if we work with the Muddy Sky Gate, we will not be able to take it down quickly. How about this? Tomorrow, you and Wang can lead 2/3 of the cultivators on the island to lay an ambush. Brother Kuei Do and I, as well as the remaining people, will guard the corpse refining pool. With the corpse refining pool, there will be an endless supply of monarch-grade demonic corpses. We will always hold the advantage. That way, we will be more confident. Wei Hua thought for a while before saying, very well, let's do that then. With the two of you and a few seniors, the corpse refining pool will not have to worry about any small fries coming to cause trouble. 2/3 of the corpse race cultivators will be sufficient to easily destroy Bai Wuxue's group and break the third line of defense, forming an encirclement with the Muddy Sky Gate. The situation of Dragon Wood Star will no longer be able to change. At dusk the next day, Bai Wuxue had already organized a team of 100 people on Black Monarch Island. Although there were not many of them, they were all elites. They were all medial grade martial sages. The two superior grade martial sage vice island masters of Black Monarch Island were also persuaded by Bai Wuxue to join the group. These vice island masters were confident in their own strength. As long as they did not get too heavily surrounded, they should be able to escape. Furthermore, Bai Wuxue contributed a large number of astral coins, so they agreed to take the risk with him. Bai Wuxue stretched out his hand, and a pearl with a cold light on it appeared in his palm. Shiman Bao's eyes lit up as he said, this is the thing that can allow the 50 of us to sneak into the wing island of Black Patterned Island without anyone noticing. This is the Snow Race's secret treasure, the Heavenly Ice Pearl. It can execute water evasion. Don't worry, we will definitely be able to sneak in without anyone noticing. Shiman Bao still felt somewhat worried. He said, I still feel that this trip is too risky. If we are all wiped out, Black Monarch Island's defenses will be finished. No matter how many inferior grade martial sages and half-sages there are, they will just be decorations. Bai Wuxiue smiled confidently and said, "How can that be possible? We will end this quickly. At most, we will be able to finish it in an hour. After all, there are 3 superior grade martial sages on that island. That is 30,000 military merits. Adding in the other corpse race cultivators on the island. After we kill them all, we will be able to take the lead over Xiao Chun." The heavenly ice pearl gave off a beam of light and sucked in the group. Then, it quickly sank to the bottom of the sea. The true chaos of the peaceful dragon wood star was about to begin. Xiao Chun, Wei Hua, and Bai Wuxiue all felt that their plan was foolproof, that nothing could go wrong. Bai Wuxiue's target island was called Heavenly Wind Island. The most famous resource on the island was the Heavenly Wind Grass, a spirit herb containing wind-attributed energy. Although it was not as precious as the black pattern gold, there was a lot of it. Furthermore, there were also crystal mines of various attributes. The corpse race had stationed many people on the island as well. Naturally, the strongest were the 3 superior grade martial sages. The rest were mostly inferior grade martial sages and half sages. There were only about 10 medial grade martial sages. After all, this was not the main camp of the corpse race. There was no need to station too many troops here. This was the information that Bai Wuxiue obtained. He had personally investigated and verified it repeatedly. Based on the strength of the 2 sides, his group of elite martial sages would definitely be able to kill all the corpse race cultivators on the island within 2 hours. Not only would this raise the morale of the Bushin Palace's side, but his military merits would also surpass Xiao Chen's. Under the night sky, a huge ice pearl silently leaped out of the water on a beach of Heavenly Wind Island. After that, there was a flash of light, and Bai Wuxiue put away the Heavenly Ice Pearl. The elite martial sages who sneak-attacked Heavenly Wind Island all revealed themselves. Shimin Bao looked around and looked at the quiet Heavenly Wind Island. He smiled and said, "Brother Bai's Heavenly Ice Pearl is indeed powerful. We managed to come here without anyone noticing. What should we do now? What should we do?" Bai Wuxiue revealed a carefree smile and said, "Do I still need to say it? Naturally, we will kill all the Buddhas we meet. If we meet gods, we will kill gods. We will sweep through Heavenly Wind Island and kill them all, establishing supreme military merits." Chapter 881. Bai Wuxiue's words immediately stirred up the hot-bloodedness of the people behind him. They all activated the heavenly sage laws in their bodies and charged forward together with Bai Wuxiue. Under the lead of the 20 elite martial sages, the patrolling demonic corpses in the way crumbled upon contact. Bai Wuxiue led the charge. He could not last even one exchange with his palm. The demonic corpses fell in droves. When they arrived at the center of the island, Bai Wuxiue suddenly stopped. His expression changed slightly as he said, "What's wrong?" Along the way, all we saw were corpse race demonic corpses. We did not see a single corpse race cultivator. The others only cared about killing. Furthermore, Bai Wuxiue's earlier words provoked them, so they did not feel any burden in their hearts. They all thought that this Heavenly Wind Island was already a dead island. Now that they heard Bai Wuxiue's reminder, they could not help but think about it. This was indeed the case. That's right. Why is there not a single corpse race cultivator? Don't tell me they're all hiding. That would be too boring. Bai Wuxiue thought for a while. Then, his expression changed. He said, "Quick, let's go. We have been exposed. We have fallen into an ambush." Seeing that the others had not reacted yet, Bai Wuxiue got up and retreated without any care, deciding to leave first. Along the way, they did not see a single corpse race cultivator, letting them kill the demonic corpses. Clearly, the corpse race wanted to lure them to the center of the island. If this was not an ambush, what else could it be? However, Bai Wuxiue could not figure out how the news got out. Furthermore, the corpse race even made arrangements in advance. Bai Wuxiue, why are you thinking of leaving now? Weren't you saying earlier that you were going to sweep through Heavenly Wind Island? A figure appeared in front of Bai Wuxiue in the night sky, blocking his way. Death Qi surged out as this person threw a palm strike at the retreating Bai Wuxiue. The underworld fire sovereign's descendant, Wei Hua. When Bai Wuxiue saw the appearance of this person, his heart could not help but sink. This time, things might have gone too far. Unexpectedly, even Wei Hua came. The two's palm strikes collided, and they both moved back 100 steps. Bai Wuxiue did not have time to scatter the death qi circulating in his palm. Another person appeared in the air. Without giving Bai Wuxiue a chance to catch his breath, this person sent him back to the Black Monarch Island group with a palm strike. The person who attacked was Wang Qian, who had come with Wei Hua. Although Wang Qian was weaker than Bai Wuxiue, he was more than enough to work with Wei Hua. Pung, pung. The luminous stones rose into the air, and the bright light exploded bit by bit, illuminating the entire sky, making it as bright as daytime. Xiao Chun saw 4 superior-grade martial sages leading large groups of corpse-race cultivators, medial-grade martial sages, inferior-grade martial sages, and horrifying demonic corpses surrounding the group. In the sky, there were 3 king-grade warships of the corpse race. All of them were refined from the corpses of powerful flood dragons. Their mouths contained a terrifying death qi, and their blood-red eyes were incomparably frightening. When the 2 vice island masters of Black Monarch Island, Bai Wuxiue Ishimen Bao, and the group of peak medial grade martial sages, saw this lineup, they were all frightened silly. Their faces turned ashen. This lineup was practically the entire corpse race army moving out. What's going on? Wasn't this a sneak attack? How do we end up like turtles in a jar? Bai Wuxiue, what's going on? The 2 vice island masters felt very anxious. They were both startled and furious. With such a lineup, how could they survive? Bai Wuxiue had done them in. Horror filled Shimen Bao's eyes. At this moment, he had completely lost his mind. He said in a trembling voice, Bai Wuxiue, what should we do? There's so many corpse race experts and 3 king-grade warships. We are dead for sure. With Emperor Wu holding down the fort, the Shimen clan would definitely have some means to protect themselves. However, Shimen Bao thought to himself that in such a situation, the secret treasures they had to protect themselves would not be enough. Bai Wuxiue was someone who had seen such a scene before. After a flustered expression, he calmed down and said, Your great-grandfather is Emperor Wu. After all, this Wei Hua will not kill you. At most, he will imprison you and extort some money from your great-grandfather. When Shimen Bao heard this, his expression could not help but turn even more unsightly. He was an outstanding talent, yet he had become a prisoner of the battlefield. To him, this was even worse than death. As for the 2 vice island masters, if this Bai is not wrong, the Black Monarch Island's island master leaked the news. You can't blame this Bai for this. The faces of the 2 vice island masters sank. They said in unison, That's impossible. The island master's son died at the hands of the corpse race. How could he betray the enemy? He was the first to approve of your plan. Bai Wuxiue thought, could there be an even higher-ranked spy? However, after thinking about it, he revealed a bitter smile. So what if it was? So what if it wasn't? Today he, Bai Wuxiue, was at his wit's end. Cripple yourselves and surrender. I will give you a chance to live. Otherwise, all of you will die, consigned to eternal damnation. Wei Hua said sullenly with a grave and stern expression. Wei Hua's expression turned grave and stern as he spoke in a deep voice. Immediately, all the corpse race cultivators shouted, Cripple yourselves and surrender yourselves. Their voices were like the waves of the sea, resounding in all directions without end. Before these voices, the morale of the elite martial sages of Black Monarch Island plummeted. They felt that there was no way out. They did not even have the courage to fight. Become a prisoner? When Bai Wuxiue thought of this, he revealed a determined expression. If he really became a prisoner, then he would just end his own life. Leave from the east. I'll make an opening for you. Whether you can escape or not will depend on your luck. Bai Wuxiue glanced at the 4 superior-grade martial sages guarding the east. However, he did not feel confident at all. Under the illumination of the night light stones, the island was as bright as day. Wei Hua could clearly see the expressions of this group of people. They all had expressions of victory in their grasp. After killing this group of people, Black Monarch Island would be completely defenseless. After that, they would launch a night attack and break through the final line of defense. Then, together with the Muddy Sky Gate, they would launch a pincer attack on Bushin Palace's headquarters. With the corpse refining pool, Dragonwood Star's fall was only a matter of time. As Wei Hua expected, everything was within his control. He felt very smug as he waved his hand, preparing to give the order to attack. The strong elite team was at least a medial-grade martial sage. They should have boundless combat prowess and be able to hold their own. Now that they had lost all their fighting spirit, their faces ashen. They felt that there was nothing they could do to reverse the situation. No matter what, they could not avoid death. Rumble. Just at this moment, startling cries rang out from the east of the encirclement. A team of 20 people, led by a white figure, charged forward. Unexpectedly, no one in the corpse race could stop them. Under the light of the night light stones, that white figure looked very bright. When he attacked, the hum of a powerful saber resounded. His entire body radiated a sharp light, and a purple lightning talisman floated above his head. For beams of golden light flowed on the lightning talisman. Occasionally, it released beams of golden light. No one could stop him for even a moment. Behind him were 20-odd youths of the younger generation. Compared to Bai Wushue's elite team, they were much weaker. However, all of them were full of fighting spirit. No matter who it was, they attacked ferociously, not showing any intention of retreating. They burst forth with startling combat prowess. Under the lead of that white figure, this team miraculously tore a hole in the encirclement in an instant. Xiao Chen knocked back 4 superior-grade martial sages with one punch, one after another. He did not give them a chance to work together at all. As their hair fluttered, their white robes were dyed red with blood. Brother Wei Hua, it's been 2 years. We meet again. The myriad heaven divine fist's distant legend merged vital chi, magic energy, and quintessence to knock back a superior-grade martial sage of the corpse race. Xiao Chun stood firmly and looked calmly at the underworld fire's sovereign's descendant, Wei Hua. Sagely music lingered in all directions, singing the legends of Xiao Chun. As the golden light shone down, Xiao Chun looked like a celestial being in the night sky, causing everyone to look up at him in amazement. Wei Hua's thoughts turned chaotic for a moment. Why did Xiao Chun come to this heavenly wind island at this time? Wei Hua was not the only one who could not figure out. Bai Wuxue and the others, who originally thought that they could not reverse the situation, were shocked when they saw Xiao Chun, who was like a divine soldier descending from heaven. Bai Wuxue, Shimen Bao, if you do not leave now, when will you? When Xiao Chun saw the stunned Bai Wuxue, Shimen Bao, and the elite martial sages, he could not help but shout, his voice booming like thunder. The group of people seemed to wake up from a dream. They quickly headed in Xiao Chen's direction, using their clones to charge over. Wei Hua reacted. His expression turned frosty as he said coldly, "Good timing. We can deal with them all in one go. All corpse race cultivators, heed my orders. Surround them and kill them all. Do not leave a single one alive." Huh, deal with them all in one go? Naturally, the people that I, Xiao Chun, want to save cannot be left behind. Let's see how you, Wei Hua, are going to deal with them all in one go. Xiao Chun fought the 4 superior-grade martial sages of the corpse race alone. Then, he opened his mouth and spat out the Dragon's Gate's warship. Hao Yin sect disciples board the Dragon's Gate's warship. Jin Lin, Xiao Xian, and Lu Ku, the 3 of you drive the warship to receive them. I will bring up the rear. Looking at the dense, tide-like corpse race army closing in from all directions, Xiao Chun felt a chill run down his spine. Xiao Chen's white robes fluttered as he stood firmly on high ground. His heart was calm, and his thoughts were clear. Jin Lin's group of 3 was very familiar with the Dragon's Gate's warship. When they came to Dragonwood Star, a group of curious juniors had turned the Dragon's Gate's warship upside down. The warship flew quickly, instantly pushing through the crowd and arriving before Bai Wuxue and the others. When these people saw the Dragon's Gate's warship, they rejoiced and leaped onto it. Seeing that all 20 people had leaped onto the warship, Jin Lin immediately controlled the Dragon's Gate's warship to soar into the sky. However, 3 Corpse Race King grade warships blocked it. Xiao Xian, control the cannons and the propulsion arrows. The rest of you, do your best to maintain the Dragon's Gate's warship's protective barrier. Come and play with these 3 stinky dragons. Let's show them what it means to suppress a group of kings." Jean Lin laughed loudly. He did not fear the 3 Corpse Race King-grade warships blocking his way. The other Hao-Ian sect disciples on the warship also ran around enthusiastically. When Bai Wuxiwei and the others saw this scene, they all felt deeply confused. How could this group of people have such high morale? When Xiao Chun, who was on the ground, saw the Dragon's Gate's warship rise into the air, he smiled faintly and relaxed, focusing on the situation before him. Chapter 882. The well-trained corpse race cultivators controlled the demonic corpses surrounding Xiao Chun in layers. The 16 superior grade martial sages in the center worked together to attack Xiao Chun. Such a situation was extremely dangerous. Even if a Grandmaster-level martial sage were here, he would not have a good time. However, Xiao Chun already knew when to advance and when to retreat. The battle between the 16 superior grade martial sages of the corpse race and Xiao Chun covered a large area. The corpse race cultivators outside surrounded the battlefield and could not interfere. As Xiao Chun moved around the 16 superior grade martial sages, there was no surprise in his eyes. He had expected such a situation long ago. Xiao Chun did not need to deal with all the corpse race cultivators. He only needed to deal with these 16 superior grade martial sages. How could an outsider dare to interfere in such a huge battle? The shockwaves alone could crush them into powder. This was also the reason why Xiao Chun dared to cut off his escape route. Wei Hua and Wang Can stood side by side in the air. As they watched Xiao Chun deal with the 16 superior grade martial sages of the corpse race, they were somewhat astonished. Wang Can exclaimed in shock, "This Xiao Chun's movement technique is really horrifying. Not only is he extremely fast, but he also has perfect control over his agility. No matter how fast he is, he can stop at will and change at will. It looks like he is fighting 16 superior grade martial sages, but in reality, he is fighting one person at a time." Wei Hua's gaze was very sharp. When he saw the black cloak that Xiao Chun wore after the battle started, he said, "The problem should be with that black cloak. Although that thing is not a king-grade secret treasure, I feel that it is more practical than several king-grade secret treasures. However, no matter how good a secret treasure is, Xiao Chun will die, for sure today. Unexpectedly, he is extremely bold, daring to block our corpse race army alone. Does he really think that he is a Grandmaster-level martial sage?" Wei Hua's tone turned cold as he spoke emotionlessly. He secretly stored up power, preparing to attack at any moment to deal a fatal blow to Xiao Chun. As Xiao Chun moved around the 16 superior grade martial sages, he quickly gained a clear understanding of their strength. Xiao Chun looked around and left behind an afterimage. In an instant, he arrived before the weakest corpse race martial sage of the 16. 3 or 4 attacks hit the afterimage in an instant. The afterimage only stayed for a moment before it was completely shattered. It was this moment that gave Xiao Chun a chance to survive. Xiao Chun circulated his rank 3 sage body and took 4 or 5 attacks head-on. Then, he punched out and executed deities descending. Light shone from his body as his aura soared. With a single punch, tens of thousands of treasured sabers buzzed in the air. The saber intent was unparalleled. Waves of blade, chi surged out from the tip of Xiao Chun's fist. The man's right sleeve was shredded into pieces as his flesh and blood flew out bit by bit. Under the sharp blade chi, the man's right arm was soon reduced to a skeleton. Kassier! Kassier! Electricity exploded and the skeleton shattered. Xiao Chun's punch, which was 10 times his combat prowess, directly shattered the man's right arm. Xiao Chun stretched out his hand and pulled. As the other party screamed miserably, he grabbed the other party's left wrist. Strands of electric energy were like sharp knives as they surged into the other party's body, slicing through it layer by layer. With a gentle spin, Xiao Chun sent this corpse race cultivator flying. The surrounding superior grade martial sages did not dare to touch him for fear of injuring him, leaving a large space for Xiao Chun. Wei Hua catch. A strong wind blew, and Xiao Chun danced around wildly. Suddenly, he shouted and tossed this corpse race martial sage's body like a cannonball towards Wei Hua, who was watching the show in the air. Wei Hua had been storing up qi all along, preparing to kill Xiao Chun when he revealed an opening. How could he have expected Xiao Chun to do this? Wei Hua did not know whether to catch it or not. In the end, he clenched his teeth and decided to catch it. Otherwise, if he did not care about the life or death of the person flying over in front of so many corpse race cultivators, it would be too disappointing. Wei Hua's face sank, and he stretched out his hands. In an instant, he firmly grabbed the corpse race martial sage flying over. A strong wind blew over, making it difficult for Wei Hua to open his eyes. He thought to himself, what a strong force, at least 1,000 tons of force. Bang! Just as Wei Hua thought this, the body of the corpse race cultivator in his hand suddenly exploded. Thousands upon thousands of electric saber qi, containing a vast and pure saber intent scattered in all directions. The light was very dazzling, immediately outshining the light of the nightlight stone. Wei Hua, who was in the middle of it, could not dodge in time. The explosion knocked him back, and he vomited blood. Wang Qian, who was standing beside Wei Hua, was not in a much better state. The saber qi covered his entire body in wounds. If not for the secret treasure inner vest protecting them, they might have died from being caught off guard. Xiao Chen laughed loudly and said, "Brother Wei Hua, you are very skilled. Unexpectedly, you caught it so accurately. This Xiao is in awe." Xiao Chun leaped up and soared into the air. Immediately, 3 or 4 superior-grade martial sages flew over and blocked his path. A few superior-grade martial sages flanked him, working together to prevent him from escaping to the sides. In the blink of an eye, these superior-grade martial sages showed great tacit understanding as they surrounded Xiao Chun again. However, this time, Xiao Chun did not intend to continue fighting. The magic energy in his sea of consciousness surged and drained rapidly. Xiao Chun suddenly looked up. Suddenly, the superior-grade martial sage in front of him felt like thousands of sabers pierced through his body, riddled with holes and dying without a complete corpse. He was completely frightened silly. When that superior-grade martial sage recovered his wits, he could not help but rub his body and mutter to himself, confusing the others. "Elder Chiu, be careful," the others quickly shouted. How could they be distracted at this moment? Xiao Chen did not slow down at all as he soared into the air. The corpse race old man with the family name Chiu was in a daze. He could not tell the difference between life and death. That earlier feeling of death was simply too real. Xiao Chen kicked, and a saber light flashed. The head of the old man with the family named Chiu immediately flew off. The old man with the family name Chiu had only one thought in his mind. This time, he is really dead. 2 bright purple skulls appeared on Xiao Chen's military merit medallion. He easily obtained 20,000 military merits. The encirclement also broke in an instant. The sky was high, and there was no one left to block Xiao Chun. Kassier. Kassier. The monarch-grade demonic corpses in the way did not even need Xiao Chun to make a move. Xiao Chen's strong physical body smashed them into smithereens. Xiao Chun charged forward, boundlessly ferocious. After killing his way out of the encirclement, before he could rest for a moment, a figure descended from the sky. Death Qi surged in his hand and formed an underworld river heading for Xiao Chun. It was Wang Qian. He had been waiting for Xiao Chun to exhaust himself. He sent out an ancient underworld river wave palm at Xiao Chun. Xiao Chun smiled faintly and activated the death throne in his sea of consciousness. He circulated death qi and sent out an ancient underworld river wave palm as well. However, this ancient underworld river wave palm had an additional sharpness to it. An unparalleled saber intent was sharper and unblockable. Bang, bang, bang. There were 3 consecutive explosions. Wang Qian's death river broke in half by Xiao Chen's death river, disappearing into nothingness. He disappeared into nothingness. Before he could react, he was struck by the netherworld river. Wonkin vomited a mouthful of blood, his eyes filled with extreme shock. Unexpectedly, Xiaochen also knew this ancient underworld river wave palm. Furthermore, it was stronger than his. The Death Throne. I subdued the Death Throne. This thought appeared in Wang Can's mind. Suddenly, he felt something tighten around his wrist. Xiao Chun had grabbed him. Xiao Chun stretched out his hand and pulled, using Wang Can as a shield behind him. The attacks of the corpse race immediately struck Wang Can's body, causing him so much pain that he wanted to die. He kept shouting, "Stop fighting! Stop fighting!" When Xiao Chun saw Wei Hua blocking his way, he laughed loudly and tossed Wang Can over again. He said, "Brother Wei Hua, you are very skilled. Do you dare to receive another attack?" After suffering once, how could Wei Hua dare to receive another attack? He quickly dodged. Who knew? This time, Wang Can's body did not explode. Xiao Chun took advantage of this opportunity to dodge. With this, he managed to evade all the attacks. "Brother Wei Hua, we will meet again." Xiao Chen's loud laughter rang out, lingering for a long time. Wei Hua's expression turned extremely hostile. Despite so many people, not only had they failed to block Xiao Chun, but he had even killed 2 superior-grade martial sages. From the start to the end, Xiao Chun held the initiative. The 10-odd superior-grade martial sages that rushed overside. "Young master, what should we do now? Are we still going to Black Monarch Island?" Someone asked in a soft voice. The 3 king-grade warships could not block the Dragon's Gate's warship at all. It had fled long ago. Xiao Chun had also fled without a trace. Their plans were all messed up. These people did not know what to do. Wei Hua thought for a while, but still could not understand. How did Xiao Chun appear on Heavenly Wind Island for no reason? Where did he get the news? Wei Hua could not figure it out. Could it really be a coincidence? Go to Black Monarch Island. The plan is probably already exposed. There's no need to be secretive anymore. Send a message to Xia Feng and get him to coordinate with us from the inside. We can directly destroy Black Monarch Island. At that time, we will still be able to break through the 3rd line of defense, Wei Hua said with a sullen expression. Since it was already chaotic, then let it be completely chaotic. Even if they managed to save this group of people, the situation would still be in the corpse race's favor. The night sky was like a chessboard, filled with stars. Xiao Chun moved quickly. Soon, he caught up with Jin Lin and the others, who were piloting the Dragon's Gate's warship. On the deck, the elite martial sages of Black Monarch Island were all badly shaken. When they thought about that scary scene earlier, they all felt that they would not be able to survive. Now that they were far away, they finally heaved a sigh of relief. Senior brother, Xiao Chun, is back. When the Haoyan Sect juniors saw Xiao Chun descend, they all cried out in pleasant surprise. Bai Wuxiwa looked at the seemingly unharmed Xiao Chun with a complicated expression. Then, he stepped forward and asked with a sullen expression, "Xiao Chun, how did you get the news that we led a group to launch a sneak attack on Heavenly Wind Island today?" When the people of Black Monarch Island heard what Bai Wuxiwa said, their gazes turned strange. Indeed, this was top-secret information. How did Xiao Chun get it? Shimin Bao shouted, "Xiao Chun, did you tell the corpse race about us? Otherwise, how could you have appeared so coincidentally?" When Jin Lin heard these people making false accusations, he immediately cursed, "You bunch of bastards! If not for senior brother Xiao Chen's benevolence, changing his mind before we left, you would have been killed long ago. Now, you are blaming senior brother Xiao Chen instead?" All the juniors of the Haoyan sect were filled with righteous indignation. Based on their expressions, it looked like they wanted to throw the group off the warship. Chapter 883. Xiao Chun smiled faintly and waved his hand, stopping Jin Lin and the others. Then, he looked straight at Bai Wuxiwa and said sullenly, "That's right. I do know about your plan to sneak attack Heavenly Wind Island. I also know that the corpse race laid an ambush on Heavenly Wind Island, waiting for you to take the bait." Bai Wuxiwa and Shimin Bao's faces sank, and a murderous intent immediately gathered in their eyes. "However, I was not the one who leaked your movements. It was Azure Monarch Island's island master, Xia Feng. The evidence is with Qin Wu. I do not have it, so there's no need for me to explain too much. As long as I have a clear conscience, it will be fine. Whether you believe me or not has nothing to do with me. Xiao Chun felt magnanimous in his heart, not feeling guilty at all. Originally, he had wanted to take the opportunity to go to Black Pattern Island and destroy the corpse refining pool. However, before he left, he thought about it. Bai Wuxiwei and Shimin Bao did indeed deserve to die because of their greed. However, the elite martial sages of Black Monarch Island following them did not deserve to die. If Xiao Chun built his military merits on the lives and deaths of these innocent people, it would be too unclean. As of now, he did not need to do this. Bai Wuxiwei and Shimin Bao exchanged glances. They saw confusion in each other's eyes, unable to figure out what was going on. However, the two vice island masters of Black Monarch Island turned pale with fright. They said, "Little friend Xiao Chun, are your words true?" The person in charge of the 3 lines of defense of Dragon would star colluded with the enemy and became a spy. This is a shocking matter. Naturally, it is true. Vice Island Master Qin Wu already made a copy of the evidence and sent it to Lord Huangpu Feng along with Xiafeng's plan. Soon, the truth will be revealed. Xiao Chun spoke the truth. At this moment, there was nothing to hide. You all should leave. Once you make a move, the entire Dragonwood Star will no longer be peaceful. If I am not wrong, Wei Hua should be leading the army of the corpse race to attack Azure Monarch Island. He wants to coordinate with Xia Feng from the inside. Bai Wuxiwei and the others were skeptical. Xiao Chen's words were simply too shocking. However, Xiao Chun had already asked them to leave. They could no longer remain here. After all, this Dragon's Gate's worship belonged to Xiao Chun. I, Bai Wuxiwei, will remember the favor of saving my life today. I, Bai Wuxiwei, will repay you sooner or later. However, the bet between us still stands. After Bai Wuxiwei said this somewhat unwillingly, his group left one after another, heading for Black Monarch Island. Pucci. As soon as these people left, Xiao Chun coughed and spat out a mouthful of blood. He immediately felt much better. Senior brother Xiao Chun, are you all right? Jean Lin and the rest hurriedly stepped forward and asked with concern. Bringing up the rear alone and carrying the entire corpse race army, no matter what, it would not be as easy as Xiao Chun looked. Xiao Chun closed his eyes to regulate his breathing. When he opened his eyes, he smiled and said, "It's just a small injury. It's nothing serious." As Xiao Chun charged out of the encirclement, he suffered a few blows. Even he could not remember how many of them he suffered. Given his rank, 3-sage body, and the fact that he had avoided getting hit in any vital spots, these could only be considered minor injuries. He would recover after regulating his breathing for a while. Seeing that Xiao Chen's complexion was not bad, Jean Lin and the others relaxed. They asked softly, "Where are we going now? Are we still going according to the original plan?" According to the original plan, Dragonwood Star would not fall into chaos. As long as Xiao Chun launched a sneak attack on the corpse refining pool, Wei Hua and the others would definitely return from Heavenly Wind Island. After all, they were not that far away. However, right now, the corpse race army was probably rushing to Black Monarch Island. At that time, whether they would receive news of the corpse refining pool or not would be a problem. Even if they received news, given the distance, they would not rush back. In any case, because of Xiao Chen's benevolence, the situation on Dragonwood Star fell into complete chaos beyond repair. However, it did not matter. It would fall into chaos sooner or later. As long as Xiao Chun destroyed the corpse refining pool, the corpse race would return and defeat sooner or later. I'll lend you all the Dragon's Gate's warship to operate. Cancel the original plan. All of you will rush to Black Monarch Island's aid. This 3rd line of defense is extremely important. We absolutely cannot break it. After thinking for a while, Xiao Chun stated his decision. When Jean Lin heard that Xiao Chun had no intention of returning, he asked, "Senior brother Xiao Chun, what are you going to do?" "Me?" Naturally, the original plan remained the same. I would still launch a sneak attack on the corpse refining pool. This was the best opportunity. Wei Hua would never expect that I would rush to Black Pattern Island right after I left the corpse race army. Xiao Chun smiled gently and patted Jean Lin's shoulder. He said, "Don't worry about me. Think about yourselves. My saber, Tao, has already reached a critical juncture. The greater the pressure, the more it will help me break through. The sky filled with starlight. A white figure leaped down from the bow of the warship. Before the gazes of the Hautian sect's junior generation disciples, Xiaoqin stepped on the motes of starlight and headed for Black Patterned Island. Trying to destroy the corpse refining pool alone? Senior brother Xiaoqin, your courage is truly unbelievable, Xiao Xian said ruefully as she watched the figure slowly leave. However, Jin Lin had a fiery gaze. He said enviously, "It would be great if I could have seen your brother, Xiaoqin's courage and grace one day. He has absolute confidence and the air of a grandmaster. Our senior brother Xiaoqin is definitely not weaker than the peak geniuses of the various races in the starry Heaven Silver Lake." Activating the cloak's concealing effect, Xiaoqin suppressed his murderous intent and headed for Black Patterned Island. The starlight opened the way for him, and the night provided cover for him. Xiaoqin's heart was calm and peaceful. He did not feel any nervousness or excitement from the impending battle. In the night, he silently set foot on Black Patterned Island. Relying on the concealing cloak, Xiaoqin brushed past the patrolling corpse race cultivators. No one discovered that an uninvited guest had arrived on this heavily guarded Black Patterned Island. The corpse refining pool was not hard to find. It was the place with the densest death chi on the island. Following the senses of his spiritual sense, Xiaoqin floated on the ground and leaped over many figures. Without attracting anyone's attention, he arrived near the corpse refining pool. In midair, Xiaoqin could see corpses piled up on the ground. Most of them were the corpses of various astral beasts. Occasionally, people would bring in the astral beasts they had just killed and leave after receiving their rewards. Many black-clad men busied themselves with the astral beast corpses. They skillfully cut open the astral beast stomachs and drained their blood. Then, they added all sorts of powders that Xiaoqin did not recognize. Not far away were the corpses of human martial sages. It was clear that the cultivators who turned into human corpses received much more rewards. The vicinity of the corpse refining pool was quiet and orderly. Seeing the other party turn the human corpses into demonic corpses, even someone as calm as Xiaoqin felt startled. No wonder the people of the various races did not like to interact with the corpse race. Just the thought of a group of people making one unable to rest in peace after death made one tremble in fear. If not for the corpse race being strong enough, they would have been killed thousands of times already. Xiaoqin's figure flashed, and he flew over. When he arrived above the corpse refining pool, he started to size it up. The corpse refining pool was rectangular, 500 meters long and 100 meters wide. Its surface was sinister, and black water surged. With just one glance, one would feel extremely uncomfortable, nauseous. There should be a formation under the pool. The formation lines were made of blood, and astral cores were embedded in the nodes of the formation. If one wanted to destroy this corpse refining pool, one had to break this formation and bury the entire place. However, not to mention the patrolling corpse race cultivators, there were 4 superior grade martial sages sitting in the 4 corners of the corpse refining pool. That alone put Xiaoqin in a difficult position. Each of the 4 old men had a demonic corpse shrouded in black aura beside them. Based on their auras, they should have been superior grade martial sages. These were bona fide superior grade sage grade demonic corpses, no weaker than superior grade martial sages. Suddenly, Xiaoqin frowned. He had not expected those 2 to be here. It was the scholarly Long Fei and the physical body cultivator Kuei Do, whom Xiaoqin had met once before. The 2 walked over in high spirits and stopped before the corpse refining pool. Then, they looked at it with interest. This was somewhat difficult to deal with. Xiaoqin's predictions were completely wrong. Not only was there Long Fei, but there was also the Iron Hand Sovereign's descendant, Kuei Do. Corpses floated up and down in the corpse refining pool. The corpse race martial sages in the 4 corners occasionally formed hand seals, activating the formation under the pool. Beams of dark light shot out from the pool. When the dark light landed, a demonic corpse took form. It walked stiffly to a coffin at the side, closed the coffin, and lay down inside. Immediately, the other corpse race cultivators stuck labels on the coffins, recording the strength of the demonic corpse before transporting it away. The many coffins at the back were truly dazzling. There were at least 1,000 of them, all of them monarch martial sages. There were also a few dark-colored coffins containing sage-grade demonic corpses, the true trump cards of the corpse race. Sage-grade demonic corpses already possess some intelligence. Low-ranked sage-grade demonic corpses already possess the strength of a martial sage. High-ranked sage-grade demonic corpses were as strong as superior-grade martial sages. As Kuei-do looked at the demonic corpses that occasionally leaped out of the corpse refining pool, he smiled and said, "With these nearly endless demonic corpses, it would be hard for the corpse race to lose on this dragonwood star." The scholarly Long Fei waved his folding fan and said seriously, "That is not entirely true. Only monarch-grade demonic corpses can be produced in batches. Sage-grade demonic corpses require more effort and time. Of course, if it is just a battle of this scale, as long as the corpse refining pool is not destroyed, the final victor will be our corpse race." Kuei-do smiled and nodded. Monarch-grade demonic corpses are nothing in the eyes of experts. However, in the end, they do not require any capital. If 100 monarch-grade demonic corpses can wear down an inferior gray martial sage, that would be a profit. The two circled the corpse refining pool, chatting as they walked. The 4 corpse race old men occasionally chatted with them as well. When Xiao Chun saw all this, he entered deep thought. Right now, he had to face 4 older generation superior grade martial sages of the corpse race, for superior grade sage grade demonic corpses, and 2 young demonic geniuses that far surpassed regular superior grade martial sages. Based on the auras of the 4 corpse race older generation martial sages, they were not ordinary superior grade martial sages. They were all old monsters that had lived for hundreds of years. Their cultivations were unfathomable. Even in a one-on-one fight, Xiao Chun was not confident of defeating them within 100 moves. If there was a superior grade sage grade demonic corpse, killing them would be even more problematic. Without at least 1,000 moves, it would be hard to determine the victor. Chapter 884. The most problematic ones were Long Fei and Kuei-do. These two were the descendants of sovereign martial emperors. Their talents were also extraordinarily high. Once Xiao Chun got tangled up with them, it would be hard for him to free himself. Difficult, very difficult. However, no matter how difficult it was, he had to break this corpse refining pool today. If he did not challenge the limits of life and death, his saber Dao would not be able to truly take form. Xiao Chen's thoughts raced. After a while, he thought of a countermeasure. He stretched out his hand, and a statue appeared in his palm. This statue was carved from a branch of the longevity tree. It looked very spiritual. The statue had black hair and white robes. Its features were like sabers, and its gaze was incredibly sharp. This was Xiao Chun himself. Xiao Chun flicked his finger, and the statue instantly took form. It burst forth with a strong aura and flew over the rows of coffins. Without saying anything, he punched. Countless strands of saber chi fluttered between heaven and earth like wings. With a single punch, hundreds of coffins were blasted to smithereens in an instant. Kuei-do looked around, and his eyes suddenly lit up. He exclaimed, "Xiao Chun." Without even thinking, Xiao Chun pushed off the ground with his feet and turned into a sharp arrow, chasing after the white figure with great speed. Long Fei closed his folding fan and pondered something. He said softly, "This Xiao Chun is really bold. He dares to barge in everywhere. Elders, I'll have to trouble you to guard this place. After I capture Xiao Chun, I'll refine him into a peak sage-grade demonic corpse. Young master, rest assured, with us guarding this corpse refining pool, not even a mosquito will be able to enter," the 4 said as they performed cup-fist salutes as they looked at Long Fei. While these 4 were distracted for 1,000th of an instant, the black cloak, Xiao Chun, silently entered the corpse refining pool. The 4 old men withdrew their gazes from Long Fei and stared at the corpse refining pool. Black chi surged on the surface of the pool, and corpses floated up and down like usual. Then, they continued to operate the formation under the pool, refining the corpses. The instant Xiao Chun entered the corpse refining pool, boundless death qi immediately poured into his body through his pores. The black aura of death was rampaging in his body, corroding his blood, bones, skin, and internal organs. Silently, it caused great harm to Xiao Chun. The amount of death qi was simply too great. Xiao Chun glanced at his palm. It had already withered beyond recognition and was covered in wrinkles. It was lifeless and lifeless, just like an old man past his prime. Xiao Chun had completely underestimated the death qi in this place. He quickly circulated the law energy in his body, and strands of purple energy and electric light spread throughout his body, turning the black death qi into nothingness. The situation finally took a slight turn for the better. However, this did not completely resolve the danger. There was simply too much death qi in the pool, and it seemed endless. After Xiao Chun chopped off half of the death qi, another 2 times more death qi appeared. There was simply no way for him to remain here. Damn it, I can't stay here any longer. Using the power of laws on such a large scale will definitely attract the attention of the 4 old men above. Just as Xiao Chun was at his wit's end and feeling anxious, a suction suddenly came from the death throne in his sea of consciousness, sucking away all the death qi in his body, instantly draining it clean. He looked like a gluttonous little brat, and he seemed a little dissatisfied. Xiao Chun could move his body freely, rejuvenating it. Xiao Chun rejoiced in his heart. Unexpectedly, the death throne had such a wondrous use. He immediately relaxed. When Xiao Chun looked around in the pool, he saw corpses tumbling all around him. The scene looked very horrifying. The expressionless faces of the corpses sometimes looked like they were facing each other. Suddenly, a demonic hand stretched out from below, grabbing at Xiao Chun. Xiao Chun quickly dodged. The demonic hand grabbed a corpse beside him and sank into the churning corpse refining pool. Above the corpse refining pool, the old man in the upper left corner revealed a suspicious expression. He said, "Strange, I was just about to grab a corpse and throw it into the corpse refining formation. In the end, he managed to dodge. Haha, this is not too strange. He probably still has breath and is not dead yet. Or perhaps this is the instinctive reaction of the corpse. After soaking in the corpse refining pool for a while, it will be fine," the old man in the upper left corner said. Hee. The death qi in the corpse refining pool is already so dense that it has turned into liquid. Who will be so blind as to jump in? The old man in the upper right corner laughed sinisterly. The old man who spoke first felt that it made sense, so he stopped talking and focused on refining the corpse in the formation. Xiao Chun, who was in the pool, did not know that he had dodged a calamity. At this moment, he had already sunk to the bottom of the corpse refining pool. His feet touched the ground. Before him was an extremely complicated formation drawn with startling blood. 4 corpses sat cross-legged in the formation. Beams of scarlet light entered the bodies of the corpses. It looked like cultivators cultivating. The scene was extremely strange. There was a total of 99 nodes in the formation. A medial-grade astral core was embedded in each node, and a superior-grade astral core was embedded in the center of the formation. Together, they formed a round number of 100. The formation lines formed by blood were a startling red. They looked tender and alluring, filled with an evil aura. This formation should not be that easy to break. Xiao Chun did not dare to act rashly and alert the enemy. He stood at the side and observed for a long time. How should I break this formation? The condensed blood was deeply embedded in the ground, seeming to merge with it. Xiao Chun stomped on the ground. Due to the protection of the formation, the ground was as hard as iron, not budging at all. This formation clearly merged with the corpse refining pool. It was inseparable and unbreakable. If he relied on brute force, it might backfire. If he was not careful, he might even injure himself. I got it. With a thought, Xiao Chun thought of the death throne in his sea of consciousness. He smiled faintly and had an idea. Xiao Chun squatted down and stretched out his hand. When he touched the blood formation lines, a vast death energy immediately flowed into the formation. The entire formation line started to give off an intense red light, looking very alluring. What's going on? Suddenly, a large amount of death energy came from the corpse refining formation. This is too horrifying. We have to stop this death energy. Otherwise, it will exceed the limits of the formation. The four old men at the four corners of the corpse refining pool stood up at the same time. When they saw the surging pool water, they exclaimed in horror. Tremors spread out, and cracks appeared at the edge of the corpse refining pool. The expressions of the four old men changed as they quickly soared into the air with the demonic corpses beside them. In the next moment, a loud rumble resounded, and the entire corpse refining pool exploded. The entire black patterned island shook. Boundless death energy spread out in all directions. A deep pit appeared in the ground. The corpse refining pool turned into nothing, and the corpse refining formation ceased to exist. With Long Fei and Kuei Dou's pursuit, the two finally caught up to Xiao Chun. Then they punched him, turning him into its shavings that filled the air. The two were stunned. Then they said in unison, "We fell for it." The two quickly turned around and rushed back to the corpse refining pool. However, before they could get far, they heard an intense explosion. The entire corpse refining pool turned into nothingness. A black storm of death soared into the sky, forming a pillar of wind that reached the heavens. Black patterned island shook violently as a series of loud rumbles resounded endlessly. Long Fei folded the folding fan in his hand, and the strong wind gathered, forming a destructive storm that surged out. This showed how intense the shock in his heart was. The corpse refining pool shattered? How can that be? Even a Grandmaster-level martial sage would not be able to break the corpse refining formation easily. Furthermore, there are no more Grandmaster-level martial sages on this Dragonwood star. Kuei Dou's expression turned sullen as he looked in the direction of the corpse refining pool. He said, "If it really was Xiao Chun, it is not impossible. Every time this fellow does something, it seems impossible. However, he manages to do it. Xiao Chun, I don't believe that this person has 3 heads and 6 arms." Long Fei's figure flashed, and a destructive aura burst out of his body as he rushed towards the corpse refining pool. Kuei Dou frowned slightly. When he felt this aura, he entered deep thought. The will of destruction. Long Fei actually comprehended such a will. He really hit it very deeply. Bushin Palace, where the main camp of Dragonwood Star was, Huangpu Feng suddenly opened his eyes and soared into the air. He looked in the direction of Black Patterned Island, at the black pillar of wind that reached the sky. His eyes filled with incredulity. The figures that flew out beside Huangpu Feng were also in disbelief. After a while, Huangpu Feng said, "The corpse refining pool is broken, and the foundation of the corpse race is destroyed. Mobilize the entire army and head for Black Patterned Island to deal the final blow. We will obey my lord's orders." Immediately, warships with the banner of Bushin Palace flew out from the main camp, carrying the human cultivators in a grandiose formation, looking very mighty. On the island that the Muddy Sky Gate occupied, the young master of the Muddy Sky Gate, Chi Wuxua, was gathering a group of people, preparing to head to the main camp of Dragonwood Star on Bushin Palace. We saw this black pillar of wind. He was stunned. The corpse refining pool. How could someone break the corpse race's corpse refining pool? Without the corpse refining pool, how could the corpse race have any combat prowess? Chi Wuxua exclaimed in disbelief. Chi Wuxua's face sank as he said sullenly, "Go to Black Pattern Island. The location of the final battle has already changed. Whether we win or lose will depend on this final battle." At Azure Monarch Island, the Underworld Fire Sovereign's descendant, Wei Hua, who was leading the corpse race army and doing his best to break through the third line of defense, turned his head back to look. When he saw the black pillar of wind, his expression changed drastically. For some reason, Wei Hua could not receive any information from Xiaofeng at all. Although he held the upper hand, the battle was much more arduous than he had imagined. Then, when Wei Hua saw the Peak Master holding the black pillar of wind, he panicked. He shouted, "Retreat! Return to Black Patterned Island. We will fight another day." Immediately, The densely packed corpse race army retreated like the receding tide, rushing back to black patterned island. Seeing the corpse race army, which held the upper hand, retreat, the many human cultivators immediately relaxed. However, they were somewhat confused, not knowing what was going on. Only Qin Wu sighed as he looked at the black pillar of wind that lingered for a long time. This fellow really did it. He really broke the corpse refining pool. At the side by Wu Shue, Shimen Bao, Feng Xingxing, Hua Dao, and Niu Ding all nodded slightly. When they heard this, they were somewhat stunned. However, the younger generation disciples of the Haoyan sect were wild with joy and excitement. Chapter 885. Senior brother Xiao Chun has already broken the corpse refining pool. The corpse race is finished. Let's give chase. Jean Lin laughed loudly and led the 20 inferior grade martial sages of the Haoyan sect to charge towards Black Patterned Island. Qin Wu, who was already the highest commander of the third line of defense, smiled faintly and waved his hand for the entire army to attack. Let's go. Xiao Chen's expression changed. At the bottom of Black Patterned Island's corpse refining pool, Xiao Chun was in a sorry state. He had not expected the formation to break in such a manner. The energy that erupted out was so startling. The shockwave struck Xiao Chun first. The heavenly sea cloak on his body blasted into tatters. From the looks of it, he did not know if it could be repaired. Xiao Chen's internal organs churned endlessly. He tasted something sweet in his throat and vomited a mouthful of black blood. He was significantly injured. Xiao Chun somersaulted twice in the air and removed his tattered cloak. When he saw the four corpse race old men pressing down on him, he complained bitterly to himself. Although the corpse refining pool was broken, he might not be able to escape. However, without any pressure, Xiao Chun would not be able to form his saber Dao. Today, he would comprehend his Dao here. If he did not succeed, he would die trying. Sir, you are really courageous. Can you tell me why the death chi in the corpse refining pool did not turn you into a corpse on the spot? The four old men each led a superior grade sage grade demonic corpse as they surrounded Xiao Chun. They appeared calm and composed, not in a rush to attack Xiao Chun. The green-robed old man leading the group asked curiously. Starlight descended. This resplendent night sky was very beautiful. Xiao Chun smiled casually amid the starlight. His white robes fluttered as he stood upright with his hands behind his back. He said calmly, this Zhao's secret. It is not convenient for me to tell others. Sorry. The green-robed old man smiled coldly and said, Humph, you're rather calm. Later, I will have a way to make you say it. Attack. The three corpse race old men led the demonic corpses and each sent out a corpse race martial technique. Death chi surged and soared into the sky. Immediately, it covered the resplendent night sky, making it impossible to see anything beautiful. Xiao Chen's figure flashed, like a peerless treasured sword being unsheathed. A bright light shone from his body, instantly dispersing the black gas and restoring the clear night sky. Bang, bang, bang. Xiao Chen punched 6 times in a row. His figure flickered, and with every punch, a saber light flashed. Winds blew, howling endlessly. He forcefully received all the moves of the corpse race cultivators and demonic corpses. Space trembled endlessly. The 6 people's continuous attacks were actually unable to force Xiao Chen back. That unparalleled sharpness did not weaken in the slightest. The green-robed old man frowned and scolded, Don't hold anything back. Beat him ruthlessly. I don't believe that we cannot break his sharpness. When the 3 old men heard the scolding, they no longer held anything back. Together with the demonic corpses, they unleashed their death chi into the sky. When they attacked, it was like a black storm roaring in the sky. Xiao Chun immediately felt the pressure increase. He brought out his will of thunder and 90% comprehended saber intent to their limits. However, he still could not gain the initiative. He could only passively receive the ferocious attacks. Blood leaked out of Xiao Chen's mouth, but the smile on his face did not diminish. The sharpness in his heart sharpened under the pressure. Every move was like the tip of a saber, ruthlessly stabbing into the other party's body. Even though they were evenly matched, they still felt intense pain. It was like a sharp knife pierced through their flesh from the inside out. Myriad Heaven Divine Fist, Lightning Tribulation Saber Technique, Four Season Saber Technique, Rushing Thunder Saber Technique, Will Saber Intent, Kuin Pung Fist, Dragon Subduing Slash. Under this immense pressure, Xiao Chen brought out everything that he had learned in his life to his heart's content. The injuries on Xiao Chen's body worsened. However, his thoughts became increasingly clear. His eyes lit up, looking like gems in the dark night. At some point in time, Long Fei and Kuei Do had arrived. They stood quietly beside the green-robed old man, watching the battle between Xiao Chun and the three old men in a daze. The green-robed old man felt somewhat embarrassed. Three superior-grade martial sages of the corpse race and three demonic corpses were dealing with an injured Xiao Chun. Clearly, they were suppressing Xiao Chun. However, Xiao Chen's sharpness did not weaken at all. Instead, the three corpse race cultivators became somewhat fearful, not daring to clash head-on with Xiao Chun. When they attacked, they clearly hesitated. Trash! The green-robed old man scolded to himself. His clothes fluttered as he prepared to make a move personally. Long Fei stretched out his hand and struck the green-robed old man's shoulder with his folding fan. He said, "Did you not see that all the starlight in the sky is landing on him? He is transforming from a cocoon into a butterfly. Why are you helping him?" The green-robed old man was slightly stunned. When he looked up, he saw the vast night sky filled with resplendent stars. For some reason, all the starlight landed on Xiao Chun. It was like Xiao Chun had a boundless charm that could attract all the light to him. You truly live up to your reputation as the descendant of the Qing Emperor. Unexpectedly, you dare to use this certain death situation to comprehend your Tao. I, Long Fei, want to see how you will transform to be worthy of the starlight falling for you. The scholarly Long Fei's eyes flickered with a strong fighting spirit. He closed his folding fan and enunciated every word clearly. Long Fei's body seemed to give off a light as well, causing the starlight to fall in the dark night. This night was really beautiful, boundlessly resplendent with starlight falling. As the starlight filled the sky, the battle between Xiao Chun and the three superior-grade martial sages of the corpse race and three demonic corpses intensified. Xiao Chen's white robes were stained with blood and in tatters. Death chi spread from his wounds, leaving behind mottled shadows. He looked like he would collapse at any moment. However, his eyes were as bright as gemstones. Motes of starlight encased his body. He gave off a sharpness that was sharper than the sharpest treasure saber, thousands of times sharper than the sharpest treasure saber. Xiao Chun stretched out his hand and pointed, and a sharp saber wind blew. A corpse race old man who clashed with Xiao Chun felt the electric energy surging into his body. It immediately cut into his flesh, causing unbearable pain. Xiao Chun did not want to fight any longer, so he quickly retreated and waited for the others to come. Xiao Chun vomited a mouthful of blood, feeling very carefree. My body is like a saber. My will is like a saber. I am the saber, and the saber is me. My sharpness never extinguished. My sharpness soared into the sky, breaking through the 3,000 great Tao and destroying the 800 unorthodox paths. My saber Tao, be it will or sharpness, in the end, it is still about sharpness and sharpness. What kind of saber could inspire fear from the bottom of one's heart, making one not dare to clash head-on with it? Only sharpness. Sharpness could cut through metal like mud and break metal like water. Naturally, it was unblockable, able to destroy everything. Xiao Chen's thoughts became increasingly clear. The starlight filling the sky nearly turned solid, turning into motes of fluorescent light as they descended. Xiao Chen's eyes became as resplendent as stars, as bright as a saber. No one dared to look directly at them. Xiao Chun pushed back a corpse race old man with one finger. For a moment, the other two old men were intimidated by this sharpness. They did not dare to clash with Xiao Chun, only sending their demonic corpses over. As the three old men looked at Xiao Chun, who looked like he was bathed in blood, they all had an idea. This Xiao Chun had been injured earlier. He had relied on a large amount of death chi to blow up the corpse refining formation, sustaining significant injuries. Now that Xiao Chun had been attacked repeatedly, although he looked spirited, his injuries worsened. He was clearly on the verge of death. The three old men wanted to finish off Xiao Chun quickly. However, when they clashed, that sharp electric light pierced into their bodies, bringing intense pain that penetrated their hearts and reached the depths of their souls. How could they dare to clash head-on? After all, Xiao Chun was someone who was about to die. There was no need for them to risk their lives and suffer. Hence, the three old men started thinking. They only sent their demonic corpses to attack Xiao Chun. This was not painful at all. When the green-clad old man saw this scene, he could not help but feel even more enraged. He roared a few times, but the three old men pretended not to hear him, continuing to do as they pleased. The three old men did not seek to defeat Xiao Chun with brute force or to break his sharpness. They just wanted to slowly grind him to death. When Xiao Chun saw the situation, he laughed loudly. His laughter contained boundless joy. The direction he was heading in was indeed correct. He was just short of inspiration, and his saber Dao would completely take shape. At some point in time, several warships gathered in the sky above Black Pattern Island. When Wei Hua, who was the first to arrive, saw the strange scene of starlight descending, he was stunned for a long time. Starlight descending, heavenly flowers falling, auspicious signs filling the sky. Normally, such mysterious phenomena would only appear on major characters or on people who could become major characters in the future. The night was as dark as ink. Stars dotted the sky. This was a very normal scene. However, if all the stars in the sky suddenly fell on one person for no reason, it would be a strange scene. Soon after were the pursuers, led by Jin Lin. After that, Huang Pufeng from the Bushin Palace headquarters and the people led by the Muddy Sky Gate's young master arrived one by one. All the factions of Dragon would star gathered here. Thousands of gazes focused on Xiao Chun, who looked like he was on the verge of collapse but was growing sharper and sharper. Starlight descending. Why is there starlight descending? What's going on? Xiao Chun is about to collapse. What's wrong with Lord Huang Pufeng? Why is Lord Huang Pufeng not stopping him? On the Dragon's Gate's warship, the juniors of the Haotian sect could not help but panic when they saw the bloodied Xiao Chun. When these juniors heard their seniors say that this was Xiao Chun's fortuitous encounter and that he had to endure it by himself, they continued to watch anxiously. When they saw Xiao Chun's current appearance, they found it very difficult to relax. If Xiao Chun comprehended everything before his body could no longer endure, he would die. From then on, the name Xiao Chun would no longer exist in this world. The scholarly, pale-faced Long Fei fanned himself gently. He said expressionlessly, "Don't waste this great opportunity, trying to comprehend the Tao in the face of death. And if you end up comprehending yourself to death, do you really not understand the last point?" Kuei-do could tell that this was extraordinary. He said sullenly, "I think it is very mysterious. This fellow wants to take a path that no one has ever taken before, using his body as a saber and his thoughts as a saber. However, he cannot find a breakthrough point, a point that can truly ignite his cultivation." That was right. These two were talking about the difficulty that Xiao Chun currently faced. He had already figured out that his saber Dao lay in sharpness. However, the ultimate goal of the saber Dao was very vague. He needed a point to encompass everything. To put simply, it was to give his saber Dao a name. To put it in more complicated terms, this name contained all sorts of meanings. Once it was established, it could not be changed. It would forever be engraved in the depths of one's heart, merging with the entire heavenly Tao. Chapter 886. When the three corpse race martial sages saw Xiao Chun's somewhat confused appearance, they could not help but rejoice. Originally, they thought that Xiao Chun would definitely die. However, after waiting for a while, Xiao Chun was still alive. They could not help but feel fear in their hearts. How could they not tell that Xiao Chun was trying to comprehend the Tao? Once he succeeded, his strength would soar, reaching a qualitative improvement. When that happened, it would be time for them to die. Seeing such an opportunity, the three corpse race martial sages steeled their hearts and decided to fight to the death, not giving Shao Chun any more chances. Death Chi spread out and covered the sky again, blocking out the starlight. The green-robed old man smiled coldly and ignored Shao Chun's obstruction. He took advantage of the situation to charge over as well. Immediately, an overwhelming killing formation was laid out to kill Shao Chun. Long Fei withdrew his hand. For some reason, he allowed the green-robed old man to leave at the last moment. The surroundings fell silent. Everyone sucked in a breath of cold air as they looked at the somewhat confused Shao Chun and that startling killing formation. If he still could not comprehend it at this moment, he would not have another chance. As the murderous intent surged, Shao Chun's mind seemed to be stimulated. In a flash of inspiration, he suddenly uttered the word flawless. That was right, it was flawless. Shao Chun's saber Dao was called flawless. No one in the world dared to say that their martial technique or cultivation technique was perfect and flawless. The heavenly Dao was benevolent. Everything in the world would leave a trace of hope. The heavenly Dao was emotionless. It would not tolerate something truly perfect and flawless remaining in the world. The moon waxed and waned. People would experience joy, anger, sorrow, and joy. Even the smoothest thing would have flaws when magnified thousands of times. However, today, Shao Chun thought of the word flawless. Shao Chun's saber Dao was unprecedented. There were no words that could describe it. If it was not flawless, what was it? A spiritual light flashed, and starlight filled the sky, illuminating the night sky and gathering on Shao Chun's body. This was a scene that only major characters could display. All of Shao Chun's injuries instantly healed. When Shao Chun uttered the word flawless, he suddenly broke through the bottleneck of inferior grade martial sage and advanced to medial grade martial sage. A strong wind blew, and the Black Death Chi did not scatter at all. Before the eyes of all the cultivators on Dragonwood Star, Shao Chun obtained new life. Nirvana City Lord. A strong wind blew and blew away the Black Death Chi, not scattering it at all. Shao Chun's lips curled up slightly. Then he placed 2 fingers on his forehead and said softly, "If the bright moon is flawless, can starlight still shine?" Right after he spoke, a bright moon slowly rose up behind him. It was a perfect and flawless moon. Its brilliance was so resplendent that it caused the stars to retreat. Before the 4 corpse race martial sages rushing over could be shocked, they saw Shao Chun extend his hand and point. In an instant, all the light from the bright moon in the sky gathered at Shao Chun's fingertip. An unparalleled cold saber light flashed. The 4 corpse race martial sages and the 4 sage-grade demonic corpses could not resist at all as they were chopped in half. If the bright moon is flawless, the starlight will fade away. How could these 4 beams of light compete with the bright moon? The surroundings were silent. Not a single sound could be heard. Earlier, when they saw that Shao Chun was about to be killed by that trap, they felt it was a pity and could not bear to make sound. Now, they were shocked speechless by Shao Chun's shocking strength after his nirvanic rebirth and his successful comprehension of the Tao. Unable to bear to, not daring to. These changes happened in an instant. Flawless bright moon, starlight fades away. When Shao Chun formally comprehended the flawless saber Tao, he thought of the moon bright, like fire that shocked him many years ago. After some slight changes, he discovered that this martial technique was very compatible with his flawless saber Tao. This was the first martial technique he created based on his flawless saber Tao. It seemed like he was the only one in the world who knew it. When Shao Chun looked at the 8 new bright purple skulls on the military merit medallion at his waist, he felt very satisfied with the might of this move. The moonlight scattered, and the starlight slowly reappeared. That boundlessly resplendent night sky reappeared above everyone's heads. The starlight descends, the cocoon turns into a butterfly, nirvanic rebirth. Good. The instant you comprehended it, you instantly killed 4 superior grade martial sages. Shao Chun, you really did not disappoint me. Long Fei stepped forward and closed his folding fan. As he walked in the air, he met Xiao Chen's gaze without any fear. Xiao Chen stood upright with his hands behind his back. As he looked at the elegant, scholarly Long Fei, he asked, "Do you regret giving me the chance earlier?" Long Fei moved his finger and opened his folding fan. Then he smiled calmly and said, "You were the one who fought for the opportunity. It has nothing to do with me. However, this starlight might not fall for you alone." Right after Xiao Chen spoke, the stars above him flickered. Starlight fell like snow drifting down. Indistinctly, the sound of a zither and a flute rang out. When Xiao Chen got closer, he discovered that the white folding fan in Long Fei's hand was actually a bone fan. This white bone should be the skeleton of a certain Emperor Wu. After being polished layer by layer, it became as smooth as white jade. This was a truly strong bone weapon. As for the other party's falling starlight, it was different from Xiao Chen's. The gentle, snow-like starlight should be a mysterious phenomenon caused by some kind of cultivation technique and not a natural phenomenon caused by breaking through a bottleneck. Falling snow drifting song, zither, and flute in concert. This is a mysterious phenomenon caused by the nine heavens astral art's 8th layer. Unexpectedly, this Long Fei does not cultivate the white bone sovereign's cultivation technique, the white bone dermic art. Unexpectedly, he cultivates the famous ancient nine heavens astral art. That's impossible. Based on his appearance, it is clear that he cultivates the white bone dermic art. Could it be that he cultivates two cultivation techniques at the same time? These are both peak heaven-ranked cultivation techniques. How can he deal with them? When the cultivators in the air saw the mysterious phenomenon of the zither and flute playing together, they were all astonished. Xiao Chen had not expected such a thing to happen. It looked like this Long Fei could not be underestimated. From the fact that Long Fei could treat his breakthrough so calmly, it was clear. Xiao Chen, now that you have broken the corpse refining pool, you have made a great contribution to the Bushin Palace. You will not be able to run away with 100,000 military merits. Do you dare to bet with me and make another contribution? The starlight drifted down like snowflakes, and the zither and flute were pleasing to the ears. Amid the atmosphere filled with hints, Xiao Chen felt an aura of destruction, a power that could draw out the starlight on its own initiative. How mighty would it be when used to injure the enemy? Others might not feel much about the zither and flute's music. However, with Xiao Chen's spiritual sense, he clearly felt that this sound had already spread for 500 kilometers, not scattering. If he gathered it into a line, it could pierce through the mountains with just a raise of his hand. Long Fei is not simple. However, Xiao Chen did not fear the other party earlier. Now that he comprehended the flawless saber Dao, he was even less afraid. He asked calmly, "What do you want to bet?" Long Fei smiled faintly and said, "Now that the corpse refining pool is broken, my corpse race is out of options for this Dragonwood star. Even if we do not want to retreat, we will have to. My corpse race still occupies 2 of your Bushin Palace's resource stars. That is what I want to bet with you. Let's fight. If I lose, I will return 1 resource star. If you lose, you will take the Bushin Palace and leave Dragonwood Star. Then, you will lose another resource star." What bold words! What a great bet! To think that Long Fei would use a resource star as a wager. This Long Fei was extraordinarily confident. Whispers rang out in the surroundings, all of them finding this incredulous. The strength that Xiao Chen displayed earlier was already terrifyingly strong. However, based on Long Fei's appearance, he was clearly very confident. Everyone could not help feeling suspicious. Where exactly did this confidence come from? "Xiao Chen, I will agree to this bet on your behalf. If you win, I will give you 500,000 military merits for 1 resource star." Before Xiao Chen could say anything, Dragonwood Star's Huangpu Feng spoke first, agreeing to this bet on Xiao Chen's behalf. Although the risk was high, he could take back a resource star in 1 battle. This was an opportunity that could not be missed. Given Xiao Chen's status as a sovereign martial emperor, he would not casually make promises. "Huh, you agree, but I don't." The underworld fire sovereign's descendant, Wei Hua, walked over in extreme dissatisfaction. He leaped off the corpse dragon warship and landed beside Long Fei. Then, he said, "Brother Long Fei, you think too highly of this Xiao Chun. Furthermore, it is not as if we do not have the strength to fight for this dragonwood star. Don't you think so, young Master Muddy Sky, Chi Wuxiue?" The various factions in the sky were roughly divided into 3 groups. Although the strength of the Muddy Sky Gate was much weaker than the other 2 factions, joining either side could change the balance. With Wei Hua's words, he clearly wanted to rope in the Muddy Sky Gate's faction to increase his own bargaining chips. The Muddy Sky Gate's young master, Chi Wuxiue, stood at the bow of the warship. He did not answer Wei Hua's question directly. Instead, he smiled and said, "2 years ago, the name Xiao Chun resounded like thunder in the ears. Everyone in the primal chaos domain knew about him. Unexpectedly, we met in such a manner today. Brother Wei Hua, I am indebted to you for thinking so highly of me." Earlier, Chi Wuxiue was indeed dissatisfied and wanted to fight for it. However, now, Chi Wuxiue changed the topic. Then he said in a powerful voice, "What I want to see is whether the White Bone Sovereign's descendant, who can execute the mysterious phenomenon of falling snow, drifting song, and the zither and flute in concert, or the reborn descendant of the Qing Emperor, is stronger." The people of the primal chaos domain were not just evil loose cultivators. There were also some people who were both righteous and evil. They did not follow the rules when they did things, only acting according to their whims. For example, this Chi Wuxiue had betrayed Wei Hua in front of so many people, putting the other party in an extremely awkward position. Wei Hua could not help cursing in his heart, cursing Chi Wuxiue several times. To think that Chi Wuxiue dared to undermine him in front of so many people. How was Wei Hua to continue with this? Steeling himself, Wei Hua snorted coldly and said, "Chi Wuxiue, this old man finally recognizes you. In the future, we will be irreconcilable enemies." Seeing that Chi Wuxiue did not care, Wei Hua looked at Xiao Chun and said, "Xiao Chun, Long Fei is not the only one who dares to bet with you. I, Wei Hua, dare to bet with you as well." Back then, the grudge between you and me in the Sage Mark Monument spread to the entire world. Today is a good time to settle old and new grudges. Do you dare to fight me head-on? I will bet a resource star with you as well. However, if I win, you'll have to break off one of your arms. Unexpectedly, Chi Wuxiue's words roused Wei Hua's hot-bloodedness. Although this underworld fire sovereign ranked last among the corpse race sovereign martial emperors and even got injured by the Iron Hand sovereign back then, he was still a sovereign martial emperor. Chapter 887. However, Wei Hua was a descendant of a sovereign martial emperor, after all. His strength would definitely not be weak. If Xiao Chun won both bets on one resource star, he could reclaim both resource stars without a drop of blood. That would be a total of 1 million military merits. Xiao Chun thought for a while. Then, he raised his eyebrows slightly and said, "Wei Hua, I don't know if you really look down on me or pretending to look down on me. In any case, you are really nothing in my eyes. You will definitely lose this bet. Since you mentioned the grudges in the Sage Mark Monument, then that's fine as well. In that case, let's settle this together. Kuei-do, come out as well. If the 2 of you can defeat me together, I will break off on my arms. Even if I lose, you should hand over a resource star willingly." The moment Xiao Chun said that, the entire place erupted. Unexpectedly, Xiao Chun wanted to challenge the descendants of 2 sovereign martial emperors at the same time. In this great age, there was no lack of young demonic geniuses capable of shocking things. However, the number of young demonic geniuses who dare to say such a thing could be counted on one's hand. In the past, Xiao Chun could not be considered much. At most, he could trick the corpse race and the ghost race. Then, he used words to kick Diwuk's leg. However, if he could do what he said today, there would definitely be a place for him, Xiao Chun. In this age of geniuses, there would definitely be a place for him, Xiao Chun, to lead the times. However, no matter how Xiao Chun thought about it, this did not seem possible. It was more likely that he would suffer a crushing defeat, becoming the laughingstock of the world, a negative example of arrogance and conceit. "Xiao Chun, you are really bold. Since you want to die that much, I'll grant you your wish. Kuei-do's main purpose in coming to Dragonwood Star was to deal with Shao Chun. Originally, when he saw Shao Chun undergo a nirvanic rebirth, he thought that it would be hard to find another opportunity. Unexpectedly, Shao Chun jumped out on his own. Shao Chun wanted to fight 1 against 2 to settle the grudges in the Sage Mark Monument. This suited him. Although Wei Hua did not like Kuei-do, he still felt that if the two worked together, their chances of victory would be much higher. Long Fei waved his folding fan gently, and his figure slowly floated away. The starlight slowly dissipated, and in the blink of an eye, he retreated 50 kilometers. After Kuei-do formally accepted the challenge, the various cultivators in the sky all became cautious. They all flew higher once again. These 3 were not ordinary young, demonic geniuses. They were strong, far stronger than regular superior-grade martial sages. They also had great backgrounds. If they had not changed the location of this battle, they would not have been able to survive. Without a doubt, the entire Black Pattern Island would be shattered by the shockwaves. It was best to flee further away first. Shao Chun, Kuei-do, and Wei Hua stood in a triangle in midair, not saying a word. Under the curtain of night, the entire Black Patterned Island was quiet. None of the 3 made the first move. They did not even release their auras. The Neptune headscarf on Shao Chun's forehead emitted a chilly aura, which flowed around his body and calmed his heart. Kuei-do and Wei Hua looked calm and collected on the surface. However, their hearts were in turmoil. Their minds were filled with all sorts of countermeasures, as well as some conflicting thoughts. The 2 wanted to work together and make a move. However, they could not find any openings in Shao Chun's defense, so they did not dare to rush forward. They could only wait anxiously. Shao Chun grasped the thoughts of the 2. He smiled gently and said, "I gave you a chance, but you did not make a move. In that case, you can forget about getting another chance." Shao Chun's figure flashed, and he left behind an afterimage where he stood. Then, he turned into a bright and flawless saber light. The crisp sound of a treasured saber being unsheathed was exceptionally clear in the silent night. This was the prelude to this duel. That saber light came from Shao Chun's afterimage. Shao Chun's true body was already faster than most people's eyes could see. No one could catch him. Kuei-do felt a slight chill on his head. Before that bright saber light formed, he already sensed that Shao Chun was charging at him. In the time it took for a spark to fly, Kuei-do's body moved as well. The purest vital chi in his body surged out like a gushing river. When Kuei-do moved, his vital chi caused the surrounding air to tremble thousands of times. The tremors overlapped, sounding like a clap of thunder. However, although this sound was startlingly loud, it could not drown out the melodious saber hum. A bright saber light appeared before Kuei-do's eyes. He held his breath and focused, staring at the saber light. As long as Shao Chun flew out, he would use half a dragon force to blast him apart. 2,500 tons of force could even crush a body infused with Thousand Mountains frost iron. What more a body of flesh and blood? Roar! However, to Kuei-do's surprise, what leaped out of that bright saber light was not Shao Chun, but a dragon, a soaring blue dragon. It bared its fangs and brandished its claws. Its breath formed clouds, and azure scales covered its body. If this was not the legendary blue dragon, what was it? How can this be? Kuei-do cursed in his heart. He could not believe the scene before him. After all, he had fought in the starry Heaven Silver Lake for 2 years. At this critical moment, Kuei-do did not lose his composure. He shouted a war cry and punched. In the end, Kuei-do still managed to bring out half a dragon force. One could even vaguely see the image of an ancient heaven dragon appear behind him when he punched. Bang! Kuei-do's punch landed on the other party's dragon claw. Space trembled, and an explosion instantly deafened everyone within 500 kilometers. The buildings on Black Pattern Island under Kuei-do's feet crumbled into rubble. Kuei-do's body flew back like a cannonball. He clearly felt that the force of this punch surpassed that of the blue dragon. However, he was the one who got knocked back. Long Fei, who was 50 kilometers away, gently tapped his folding fan and whispered, "Incredible." He really materialized the momentum of Soaring Dragon to the flawless level. This momentum is the momentum of soaring. If Kuei Do wants to resist it, he either has to materialize a corresponding momentum or use force to break through it. Unfortunately, you want to break my Soaring Dragon with just half a dragon force? Kuei Do, you are too naive. Xiao Qian's cold voice rang out. Kuei Do looked at his bloodied right hand and then at the front. He felt incredulous. The blue dragon before his eyes actually flashed and turned into Xiao Qian's figure. Rumble. Just as Xiao Qian prepared to use half a dragon force and his flawless saber, Dao, to take down Kuei Do in one move, he suddenly heard the sound of surging waves. Xiao Qian turned his head and saw an overwhelming black wave surging at him. Wei Hua stood at the top of the wave and looked down at Xiao Qian. He said coldly, "Today I'll show you what it means by there's always someone better out there." The underworld rivers 9 waves. 9 similar overwhelming waves appeared around Xiao Qian. Wei Hua stood at the top of each wave. Together, they looked like a cage slowly shrinking. Xiao Qian, these waves are genuine underworld river water. They are thousands of times denser than the death chi in the corpse refining pool. As long as they surround you, no matter how powerful you are, you will not have a chance to execute them. You will turn into a dried corpse. The 9 Wei Huas opened their mouths at the same time, and cold laughter spread out in all directions. Do you think that I would take the initiative to challenge you, who underwent a nirvanic rebirth, if I did not have a trump card? You are too naive. If you had not been delayed by Kuei Do, you might have been able to escape at the start. Now I will send out my 9 waves, forming the power of the prison-locking divine dragon. Even if you are a true dragon, you'll have to lie down obediently today. What a great Wei Hua! To think that he used his trump card right off the bat. He did not have any intention of testing Xiao Qian at all. Everyone felt shocked in their hearts. However, it was fortunate that Wei Hua did not test Xiao Qian. Otherwise, if he really tried, he might end up like Kuei Do, defeated in one move. Xiao Qian's lips curled up slightly, and his eyes filled with disdain. He said, "I thought that you really had some trump card that gave you so much confidence, daring to bet a resource star with me. It turns out that what you took out was just a half-finished martial technique filled with flaws. I'll show you how to break it with just a wave of my hand." The Kuan Peng spread its wings, covering the sky with its gaze. In ancient times, there was a divine bird known as the Kuan Peng. When it spread its wings and soared, it could travel 4,000 kilometers in one breath. When it stretched its arms, it could cover the entire sky. Now, Xiao Qian used his flawless saber, Dao, to execute the Kuan Peng fist. Instantly, a perfect momentum formed and soared into the sky, clashing wildly with Wei Hua's power of the prison-locking divine dragon. The situation of a stalemate did not happen. As Xiao Qian shouted, he shattered the black wave in front of him with a punch. With the 9 waves gone, the power of the prison-locking divine dragon naturally broke without Xiao Qian attacking. Bang! 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 The remaining 8 waves scattered as well. Wei Hua stabilized his tottering body in the air. Blood leaked out of a corner of his lips as he said, "How can it be like this?" The underworld River 9 Waves is a martial technique that can protect one's life even before a Grandmaster-level martial sage. Under the night sky, Xiao Qian said calmly, "No matter how powerful a killing move is, if it is filled with flaws, how can it bring out its full might? I already said it before. I really do not care about the current you." Xiao Qian swept his gaze over the 2, who had lost all fighting spirit and appeared disappointed. Xiao Qian felt somewhat disappointed in his heart. Before he comprehended the flawless saber Dao, he still feared these 2. However, they were now far from being a match for him. The victor of this battle was already decided. Wei Hua, Long Fei, is there still a need to continue fighting? Xiao Qian asked calmly as he stood upright with his hands behind his back and looked at the 2. In just one exchange, Xiao Qian had beaten the 2 to the point that they lost all confidence. Their earlier bold words now looked like a joke. You win, Wei Hua spat out through clenched teeth. Then, he said sullenly, 3 days later, I will fulfill my promise and lead the people of my underworld fire hall away from the resource star that we occupied. Kuei Do endured the intense pain from his right hand and said, Xiao Chun, the grudge between us will not end like this. When I attain a rank 4 sage body, I will definitely challenge you. No one had expected this startling battle, which everyone had expected to end in just one exchange. It was hard to imagine how strong Xiao Chun was. In the air, Bai Wuxue, Feng Xingxing, and the others could not accept such a result. Chapter 888. This was too easy. In just one exchange, Xiao Chun obtained a resource star. With 500,000 military merits, he left everyone else in the dust. If Xiao Chun won another match, wouldn't he gain 1 million military merits? When everyone thought of this, their breathing quickened. 1 million military merits. That was enough to be conferred king. The Bushan Palace would carve out a large territory in the Tianwu domain for Xiao Chun to be conferred king. In the history of the Bushan Palace, there had never been someone who was conferred king at such a young age. Such an opportunity lay before Xiao Chun. Bai Wuxue appeared extremely depressed. Ever since Xiao Chun saved him at Heavenly Wind Island, he had been in a bad mood. In the battles that followed, he even appeared somewhat crazy. Now that Bai Wuxue saw Xiao Chun's strength after his nirvanic rebirth, he found the blow hard to accept. Everyone was astonished. None of the cultivators of the 3 factions fighting in the sky had expected that Xiao Chun would be as he said when he fought Wei Hua and Kuei Do. He did not care about them at all. Only Long Fei was an exception. The snowy starlight and the zither and flute played together. The scholarly, pale-faced, white-boned sovereign's descendant, Long Fei, slowly floated over. It seemed like Long Fei crossed the distance of 50 kilometers in the blink of an eye. Then, he arrived 1 kilometer away from Xiao Chun. Xiao Chun looked up and felt cautious. This was not his first time meeting Wei Hua. Xiao Chun knew Wei Hua's strength very well. However, he had only heard of Long Fei's name and had never seen him in person. Xiao Chun could not underestimate him. This Long congratulates Brother Xiao in advance. You managed to take down a resource star without spilling any blood. You are fully deserving of your 500,000 military merits. Xiao Chun gently fanned himself with the folding fan in his hand. The snowflake-like starlight danced around him, looking very beautiful under the night sky. However, who knew how many people could feel that destructive aura from it? Xiao Chun's heart was as clear as a mirror. The cool breeze did not move him, and his white robes did not flutter. Xiao Chun asked indifferently, Young Master Long, do you still want to bet? Naturally, I want to bet. I cannot let the world laugh at my corpse race for being useless, relying only on demonic corpses. Long Fei smiled faintly. Then his tone suddenly changed, turning cold. He folded his folding fan and pointed it forward. Brother Xiao, be careful. I'm making my move. The falling snow drifting song, the zither and the flute played together. When Xiao Chun pointed his folding fan, the music of the zither and flute spread for 500 kilometers without scattering. Suddenly, it turned into a finger sound wave. The music of the zither and flute immediately became 1,000 times louder in the night, pressing toward Xiao Chun. Indeed, he had guessed correctly. The sounds of the zither and the flute could really be combined together. The light of the stars in the sky would probably not be a problem. The sound wave came without warning. Moreover, it wasn't an attack of ordinary quintessential essence or the power of laws. Ordinary defenses were easily penetrated by the sound wave. Xiao Chun prepared. Already, he had Chun and Kama Chun and he circulated Xiao, Kama Chun. Strands of formless energy gathered above Xiao Chun's head, forming a roaring dragon head. Dragon might spread out, and the body behind it was hidden in the clouds. Xiao Chun opened his mouth and roared. The ferocious dragon head opened its mouth and roared as well. Immediately, the dragon voice formed a spiraling storm surging out. When it collided with the sound of the zither and the flute, only specks of light could be seen, and the sound wave was instantly dispersed. The loud and ear-piercing sound disappeared, replaced by the pleasant sound of the zither and the flute. Together with the wind, they created a beautiful melody. Each dot of light was a musical note. Dong! Dong! After a round of probing, the two of them pushed off the air at the same time and shot towards each other. Everywhere they passed, they kicked up a strong wind, knocking down the specks of light floating in the air, forming a melody that sounded like a tempest. This stirred the heart and made one's blood surge. This was the most impassioned music. The instant the two brushed past each other, their eyes met. Their hands did not stop moving. In a breath of time, they had exchanged 100 moves. Xiao Chun switched between fists, palms, and claws. However, the sharpness remained the same, always as sharp and unblockable as a saber. The saber winds they created flew out, dancing up and down. The white-faced scholar, Long Fei, used the white folding fan in his hand. Starlight bloomed in the air like flowers. When the petals exploded, a destructive energy surged out and clashed intensely with the sharp saber winds. After one breath of time, the two brushed past each other. Their speed was startling. Several people could not even react in time. They were shocked to discover that Xiao Chun and Long Fei had switched positions. Qi Wuxiue stood at the bow of the warship. The scene of the two brushing past each other and exchanging moves appeared in his mind. He clicked his tongue and sighed. These two fellows are indeed demonic geniuses. A regular superior grade martial sage would have died at least 100 times over in that instant. However, Bai Wuxiue and the other outstanding talents of the human race opened their eyes wide, not wanting to miss out on a single scene. At this moment, their emotions were very complicated. From the perspective of the human race, they naturally hoped for Xiao Qin to win. However, from the perspective of those of the same generation, there were already many peak demonic geniuses. Now that there was another one, it would be even harder for them to survive in the future. Only Jean Lin's group on the Dragon's Gate's warship showed excited and joyful expressions. They found it somewhat strenuous to watch and could not easily capture the scene of Xiao Chun and Long Fei's exchange. However, they did not have any intention of shifting their gazes. Amid the stormy tune of ambush from 10 sides, Xiao Chun executed his flawless saber dao, executing everything he had learned and comprehended, exchanging another 1,000 moves with the white-faced scholar, Long Fei. The flowers contained starlight that could destroy everything. The saber winds were formless but sharp enough to cut through frost iron. After 1,000 moves, black-patterned island below had already crumbled, disappearing without a trace in the surging seawater. However, the two were still evenly matched. Neither side showed any signs of being at a disadvantage. Long Fei narrowed his eyes. He did not want to drag this out any longer. He quickly closed his folding fan and pointed it at the sky. The two famed ominous stars in the distant starry heavens, the Ketu and Rahu, suddenly released a dazzling red light. Ketu, Rahu chop. Immediately, two blood swords descended from the sky. As Long Fei pointed, they ruthlessly chopped at Xiao Chun. Ketu Rahu chop. Long Fei actually learned this move. Did I see wrong? Ketu and Rahu, these two stars, were rumored to be demonic stars and ominous stars during the ancient era. They were inauspicious omens. During the ancient era, a powerhouse invented this Ketu Rahu chop. If the two blood swords do not see blood, they will never disappear. Several of the older cultivators in the crowd could make out the name of this move. They were all startled. The Ketu Rahu chop was a famous evil move from the ancient era. If it did not see blood, it would not return. However, once it saw blood, even if it was just a small wound, it would suck the cultivator it struck dry. After executing this move, Long Fei's fair face flushed somewhat. Clearly, something was wrong with his complexion. Cracks appeared in the bone fan in Long Fei's hand before it shattered and turned to dust. When Long Fei saw this, his heart ached. Every time he executed this Ketu Rahu chop, not only did it exhaust his blood chi, but it also required the sacrifice of a king-grade secret treasure. The price was extremely high. However, Once he executed it, the number of people who could survive within the same cultivation realm could be counted on one hand. When Shao Chun saw the two blood swords, he felt an extreme sense of danger. Before he could think, the blood sword had already arrived before him. Shao Chun's figure flashed, brushing past them. However, before Shao Chun could catch his breath, the blood swords turned around and charged at Shao Chun again. Shao Chun executed the Thunder Dragon steps to its limits. Riding on two lightning dragons, Shao Chun danced in the air, moving so fast that one could not even see his shadow. In one breath, Shao Chun changed directions more than 100 times. However, he still could not dodge the two blood swords. When Wei Hua saw this scene, he could not help but laugh. He said softly, "What a great long fei. To think that he hid so deeply that even I did not know." The Ketu Rahu chop is silent. Unexpectedly, it is 100 times more ruthless than me. The various cultivators could not help but frown. The Ketu Rahu chop was infamous. To think that someone actually managed to practice this evil move. Now, Shao Chun was in big trouble. Kassier, Kassier. Shao Chun dropped a few secret treasures and the life bestowal spells clones, trying to block the blood swords. However, the blood swords chopped through the secret treasures and clones, showing no signs of stopping. Do not turn back until blood is shed. Die when blood is shed. Long Fei rubbed his temples, and his flushed face recovered somewhat. As he looked at Shao Chun, who was helpless despite all his schemes, a faint smile appeared on his face. Metamorphosis from a cocoon to a butterfly, undergoing a nirvanic rebirth. This was the best opportunity to defeat Shao Chun. Otherwise, when Shao Chun slowly perfected his flawless Tao, his chances of defeating Shao Chun in the future would diminish. Unfortunately, Shao Chun ran into Long Fei. If not for Long Fei, he might have become an unprecedented sovereign martial emperor who could rival the Qing emperor. Unfortunately, there were no ifs in this world. It was time to end this. Shao Chun raised his head and looked at the two ominous stars in the starry heavens. Then, he turned his head back to avoid the blood swords rushing over. Now he understood something. Heaven and earth were heartless, but they could not bear to do so. Nothing was absolute. There was always a chance of survival. The Ketu Rahu chop would not turn back until blood was shed. Die when blood was shed. This was a result that could not be avoided. Everything had its own reason for existence. There had to be a reason why the two blood swords could chase after him. If Shao Chun guessed right, the reason was outside the starry heavens on the Ketu Rahu star. Under the starlight, there was nowhere to hide. As long as the light of the Ketu Rahu star continued shining, he would never be able to dodge. After thinking this, Shao Chun came up with a countermeasure. If night was no longer, the starlight would disappear. Just as the two blood swords were about to charge over again, Shao Chun spun around, and a light flashed on his forehead. A purple talisman soared into the sky. Burn, immortal will of thunder. A strand of flame shot out from Shao Chun's fingertip and landed on the talisman. Pu Si. The purple talisman burned, illuminating the surroundings. The higher it rose, the brighter the light became. The vast magic energy in Shao Chun's sea of consciousness burned continuously, providing this purple lightning talisman with an endless supply of energy. When the fireball tore through the sky instantly lit up. It was a wondrous feeling. One could see the night recede like the receding tide in one's hand. The blurry silhouette on the other side gradually appeared in front of you as the curtain of night faded away. Chapter 889. The blazing sun shone brightly, and Shao Chun stood below it. When the light illuminated the entire dragonwood star, the uneasy feeling in his heart immediately vanished. It's morning already. Using his own will to light up the sky, this Shao Chun really has deep heavenly sage laws. I understand now. Shao Chun is trying to flip day and night, suppressing the power of the starlight to its weakest point. In the end, the Ketu Rahu chop uses the 9 heavens astral art as its foundation. It would be hard not to be affected. However, this light practically illuminated the entire dragonwood star. The drain is too great. Is Xiao Chun not afraid of dying from exhaustion? The blazing sun was piercing to the eyes. Several people were not used to the change from night to day. They squinted slightly, shocked by Xiao Chen's generosity. With a raise of his hand, Xiao Chun flipped day and night. How many people could have such boldness, daring to use their own will to light up a star? He gently waved his sleeves, and the two blood swords flying at him were swept aside. Then they flew around chaotically in the air. In a moment of carelessness, an unlucky corpse race cultivator got struck by the blood swords. Before this corpse race cultivator could even cry out miserably, he was sucked dry, leaving only his skin behind. This sight was horrifying. This Katerah chop was too vicious. The mysterious phenomenon of the falling snow, drifting song, and the zither and flute playing together weakened and turned blurry under the illumination of the sunlight. The starlight disappeared, and the zither and flute's music sounded like mournful music, lingering in the air. The scholar Long Fei's expression changed slightly. He had not expected Xiao Chun to use such a tyrannical method to suppress his nine heavens astral art and resolve the situation of the Katerah chop. How arrogant! Do you really think that you can flip day and night, covering the sky with a flip of your hand? The nine brilliance star venerates have boundless divine strength. Respect my will and break the sky with a flick of my finger. Long Fei shouted ferociously and formed hand seals. The starlight behind him gathered into nine crystalline star venerates. These nine brilliance star venerates represented the Kerahu star, the Wuji star, the flame star, the greenwood star, the heavenly water star, the void earth star, the storm star, and the snowdrift star. Every one of them was born at the same time as the Kunlun realm. They were comparable to the sun, the moon, and the other famous stars. There were many martial techniques and cultivation techniques that could draw on the power of the stars. These nine stars were the object of worship. The nine heavenly astral art was one of the best. It was the cornerstone secret of the myriad star gate, an ancient sovereign martial sect. Long Fei wanted to use the power of these nine-star venerates deity statues to instantly break Xiao Chen's sky-covering move. Star Xiao and Chun in and Chun in. Chun in, Chun would be the sky, long and bright, and would Chun wood in with day. With. He would in with day. With. And. The sun is merciless. The bright moon is flawless. The sun and the moon shine together. Long Fei, do you really dare to compete with the sun and the moon with your starlight? Xiao Chun shouted at Long Fei as he took a step forward in the air. When Xiao Chun stepped forward, the sea below churned continuously. It seemed like it could not withstand Xiao Chen's rage. The sun and the moon appearing together. Unexpectedly, there is such a miraculous scene. This Xiao Chun is too horrifying. Before the radiance of the sun and the moon, Long Fei's nine astral stars art is indeed like a grain of rice. How unfortunate to think that Xiao Chun managed to reverse the night and make the sun and moon appear at the same time, suppressing such a powerful cultivation technique. The sun is yang and the moon is yin. Xiao Chun being able to perfectly combine the light of the sun and the moon might have something to do with his newly comprehended flawless Saber Tao. Flawless. This sun and moon shining together is truly flawless. Long Fei, you probably don't have a chance anymore. When Xiao Chun raised his hand, day and night reversed. Then, he waved his hand again, and the sun and moon shone together. These two moves of Xiao Chen's were truly shocking. No one had ever heard of someone using a martial technique like this before. When Long Fei was questioned by Xiao Chun, he immediately felt like the entire world was pushing him aside, mocking him for overestimating himself. He was just a grain of rice, and yet he dared to compete with the sun and the moon. This was not an illusion, but a genuine suppression of power. Right now, Xiao Chun could materialize the sun and the moon. With a flip of his hand, he could control day and night, completely grasping the power of dragon with stars' heavenly Tao. If Xiao Chun did not allow the light of the stars to appear, the world would naturally push Long Fei aside. If Xiao Chun shouted that the other party dared to compete with the sun and the moon, the world would naturally mock Long Fei. Long Fei vomited a mouthful of blood. Xiao Chun had forced the 9 astral stars art to the point where it could no longer circulate. This was the first time someone had used such a tyrannical method to scatter the 9 astral stars art. Good. Xiao Chun, I have repeatedly raised my estimate of your strength. However, I discovered that I still underestimated you. Long Fei wiped away the blood at the corner of his lips. His fair skin no longer had any trace of blood. Suddenly, a beam of white light shot out from his forehead, and a 2-meter-long trident appeared in his hand. The instant the white light appeared, a destructive aura spread out. Kasie. White bones appeared around Long Fei's body one after another. Sternum, ribs, calf bones, wrists, and arms. Under the silk-like light, the bones quickly stitched together, forming a massive set of white bone armor that protected Long Fei. A pale white flame burned in the white bones' eye sockets. The massive set of white bones seemed to be alive. The lower jaw of the skull-like head was open, looking very sinister. White bone dermic aspect. Xiao Chun exclaimed softly when he saw the skeleton completely stitched together. He had heard of this white bone dermic aspect before. It was said that it was a cultivation technique created by the corpse race's white bone monarch, the white bone technique. When cultivated to the 10th layer, it would form an avatar. This was not a simple avatar, but a complete life. If the main body died, the avatar would not be destroyed and could still be resurrected. Furthermore, the dermic aspect's battle prowess was not low. It had all sorts of wondrous uses. For example, when it attached itself to Long Fei, his defense, attack, speed, and aura would all increase by 2 or 3 times. While the others were exclaiming about the white bone dermic incarnation, Xiao Chun fixed his gaze on the trident in Long Fei's hand, which contained a boundless state of destruction. For some reason, this trident gave him a very familiar feeling. Long Fei held the trident with one hand and casually waved it. The white bone dermic aspect also made a corresponding move. Immediately, a small dragon-like black aura began to revolve in the trajectory of the trident. Xiao Chun, if you think that you can sit back and relax after breaking my 9 heavenly astral art, then you are gravely mistaken. After all, I, Long Fei, am the white bone sovereign's descendant. This white bone dermic aspect is my true trump card. Xiao Chun formed hand seals and retracted them. The blazing sun in the sky descended and turned into a purple talisman floating quietly above his head. Night fell once again. Only the bright moon did not set, shining brightly like fire. That's exactly what I wanted. If you only have this much ability, you are not fit to be the whetstone for my flawless saber Dao. Make your move. This Xiao will keep you company at any time. Xiao Chen's white clear wind robes fluttered, and his long hair fluttered, revealing the light blue Neptune headscarf. His delicate facial features gave off a sharp light that radiated from every angle of his body. Long Fei took a step forward. It was only a short step, but the huge white bone dermic aspect could already attack Xiao Chun. The trident thrust out gently, heading for Xiao Chen's forehead. Dang! Xiao Chun did not move back. He pointed with his right hand, and a cold saber light flickered. The tip of his finger was a saber light condensed from sparks. When it clashed with the trident, it gave off a melodious clang. The chi of ruin on the trident seemed to be able to destroy everything. It wanted to destroy that electric light with brute force. The white bone dermic aspect opened its mouth and let out a dull roar as it pressed down. Xiao Chun smiled faintly. He had the immortal will of thunder. It was called Immortal. Naturally, he would not let you destroy it so easily, even if it was your will of ruin. The purple talisman above his head descended, and a beam of light encased Xiao Chun. Then, he took another step forward. Instead of retreating, he advanced and pushed hard. Unexpectedly, Long Fei and the huge white bone dermic aspect were pushed into the air by Xiao Chen's finger. I finally understand how you obtained this trident of yours. You actually refined the Annihilation Throne into a bone weapon. When Xiao Qin's finger came into contact with the trident, the red and black thrones in his sea of consciousness immediately spun excitedly, nearly leaping out. How could Xiao Qin not understand? At this moment, Long Fei's expression completely changed. He was somewhat astonished as he exclaimed, "Throne? You have a throne on you as well. I want this bone weapon forged from the ruined throne." Xiao Qin smiled, and a grave expression appeared in his eyes. Even if he had to use his magic skills as a trump card, he had to obtain this ruined throne. Long Fei's expression recovered. He smiled coldly and said, "You are really arrogant. You have not even drawn your saber yet, and you still want to take my ruined trident. You'd better let me take your throne." Dark underworld bone flame. The white bone dermic aspect opened its mouth and spat out a black flame at Xiao Qin. Amidst the flames, there was a strong chill. Wherever it passed, the dust in the air would be frozen into ice flowers. Xiao Qin could not dodge in time. His hand came in contact with it. The cold qi immediately penetrated his skin and permeated his blood. Then, it surged forward and sealed Xiao Qin's entire left arm in ice. What a tyrannical flame! By the time Xiao Qin reacted and used his law energy to block this flame, his right arm was already covered in frost. Many ice flowers bloomed, absorbing the life force in Xiao Qin's right arm. Long Fei laughed loudly and said, "This dark underworld bone flame is ranked 6th among the Yin-attributed flames. I obtained it after a narrow escape from death in the 9 layers of hell. Xiao Qin, this arm of yours is completely crippled." Right after Long Fei said that, he swung the trident through the air. The huge white bone dermic aspect raised the trident image and did the same thing as Long Fei, chopping down at Xiao Qin. Xiao Qin's momentum was heavy. The trident created a strong, destructive wind that blew to both sides, forming a rapidly spinning storm. Space seemed like it would tear at any moment as a destructive aura surged out. Xiao Qin tapped his left shoulder with his right hand, and the lunar true flame's origin flame in his left eye flowed out from his fingertip. When it touched the ice flowers, they shattered. The lunar true flame absorbed the strand of dark underworld bone flame in his right arm. Xiao Qin's lunar true flame was formed by using a strand of lunar true flame that did not contain any origin flame to devour other Yin-attributed flames. Chapter 890. It was far from the true lunar true flame of the world. However, after consuming the extreme Yin flame and the netherworld flame, its origin flame was already the size of soybean. No matter what, it would have some might. Furthermore, it was ranked much higher than the netherworld bone flame. Naturally, it was not difficult for it to easily absorb a strand of the netherworld bone flame. You have quite a few good things on you. Coincidentally, my lunar true flame needs to advance. Watch as I take out your netherworld bone flame's origin flame later. Xiao Qin moved his arms freely. He smiled faintly and clenched his right hand into a fist. Then, he punched at the incoming trident. He used the myriad heaven divine fist deities' descending secret technique, gathering veritable essence energy, magic energy, and vital qi, erupting with tenfold combat prowess. Bang! The white bone dermic incarnation with a ferocious aura was knocked back. It spun in the air and fell towards the sea. Didn't you want to see my saber? I'll show you what my saber is now. With a cold snort, Xiao Qin executed Thunder Dragon steps and chased after the falling Long Fei at an even faster speed. A bright light burst forth from Xiao Qin's body. Instantly, the sharpest saber in the world, flawless, came out of its scabbard. Using my palm as a saber, my feet as a saber, my wrist as a saber, my hair as a saber, my body as a saber, I am the saber, and the saber is me. This saber was called Flawless. This Tao was perfect and flawless. In an instant, Xiao Qin closed in on Long Fei and formally executed his flawless saber Tao. Sharp fist lights filled with saber edges. Unparalleled leg shadows filled with saber edges. 3,000 strands of hair fell like a waterfall filled with saber edges. What Long Fei saw, what his ears heard, and what his body felt, he felt like thousands upon thousands of sabers were attacking him relentlessly. All sorts of tricky sabers flew at him, making him unable to imagine the trajectory of these sabers. That place was a sea of sabers, a world of sabers. Saber domain. Such a scene made several of the old men in the surrounding sky exclaim involuntarily. Aside from the boundless sabers, only Long Fei's white-boned dermic incarnation remained, doing its best to fight with the sabers. Saber domain, the domain of the saber. Once it is executed, it is filled with the sharpness of a saber, able to break through all techniques. After being trapped, no matter how powerful the enemy is, after suffering the pain of 1,000 cuts, they will die. A genius bladesman like Feng Xingxing nearly lost his cool and cried out. Saber domain. That was a domain that only the legendary ancient saber monarchs could execute. It required exceptional talent for the saber to comprehend. Currently, there were not many famous saber emperors. There were almost none who could use a saber domain. However, there were a few experts who could use a sword domain. Could it really be a saber domain? After a while, the grave Feng Xingxing heaved a sigh of relief. He said, "Fortunately, it is not a saber domain. It is just my body as a saber, turning everything I touch into a saber. It is very similar to the legendary saber domain, but there is an essential difference." However, Bai Wuxiu sighed and said, "Feng Xingxing, it is too early for you to relax. This is not a saber domain, but it clearly has the vague form of a saber domain. Given this fellow's talent, he will definitely be able to comprehend it. In the future, if you see him execute a saber domain, don't be shocked." Feng Xingxing appeared distracted for a while. Then, he could not help smiling bitterly. Haha, it looks like I am deceiving myself and others. I am not as thorough as Brother Bai. You are probably going to lose your bet with Xiao Chun. Bai Wuxiu had a complicated expression. However, he also heaved a sigh of relief. He said, "There will always be a time to settle all grudges and grudges. If I lose this time, I will be able to let go of the obsession in my heart. This might not be a bad thing for me. There are many people stronger than me in this world. The sons of the 3 holy masters are stronger than me, and Juanxi is stronger than me, and those newly born geniuses of the ancient races are stronger than me. Why should I take it to heart that Xiao Chun is stronger than me? He is just putting on a show and refusing to admit defeat. Brother Feng, do me a favor." Feng Xingxing said with a strange expression. "Please speak." Whoosh! A jade strip flew towards Feng Xingxing. Bai Wuxiu stretched out his hand and caught it. He said, "This contains the snow race inheritance that Xiao Chun wants. Will you please help me pass it on?" Feng Xingxing grasped the jade strip and said, "The match is not over yet. Brother Bai, why are you leaving before you finish looking? I am already 30 years old. I became famous at a young age. Along the way, I have been fighting. It is not that I have seen too little. Rather, I have seen too much. However, I still cannot see through it. I am going to closed-door cultivation. If I cannot see through it, I will not come out. I will just pretend that I do not have a name in this world. Whatever bloody age of geniuses has nothing to do with me." Bai Wuxiu. Snowflakes drifted down and landed on the surface of the sea, forming a path of ice and snow. Bai Wuxiu walked on the waves. It was as Bai Wuxiu said. Even after a long time, Feng Xingxing did not hear any news of him. At this moment, everyone's attention was focused on the shocking battle between Xiao Chun and Long Fei. No one paid attention to Bai Wuxiu, who walked on the waves in the wind and snow. Long Fei, who was surrounded by boundless saber lights, did not appear. He did not collapse, as everyone expected. Instead, the white-boned dermic incarnation materialized 1,000 arms and sent out a destructive aura, not willing to admit defeat. When Xiao Chun made a bet with Xiao Chun, whoever gave out first would be the loser. My 1,000 hands white-boned dermic incarnation originates from a mysterious Buddhist sect secret technique. The white-boned dermic incarnation is the predecessor of the 10,000 hands Buddha. My energy is boundless. You are using your body as a saber, materializing the flawless saber Tao. You're going to be disappointed if you want to grind me to death. At this moment, Long Fei's dermic incarnation looked very dignified. He ignored the bloody wounds on his body as he brandished his 1,000 arms, clashing wildly with Shao Chun, who had already turned into boundless saber lights. The shockwaves of the two's battle on the surface of the sea grew increasingly wider. The seawater surged, and unrecoverable gorges appeared in the vast and boundless sea. It was like the ground had split open, an incredible sight. Once Long Fei's 1,000 hands white-boned dermic incarnation unfolded, it immediately knocked back Shao Chen's advantage, resulting in a stalemate. The battle continued. However, time seemed to freeze forever. That bright moon illuminated the sky. Its light did not scatter. How could night leave? As the bright moon did not scatter, the spectators could not help but have a vague sense of time. They did not know how long the two had been fighting already. Was it one night, one day, or even more days and nights? Shao Chun had already forgotten the initial purpose of this battle. He only felt extremely carefree. His mind was filled with information and inspiration about the flawless saber Dao. Suddenly, he remembered the four-season saber technique that he once cultivated. The four-season saber technique grew without end, cycling without end. If he executed it with his flawless saber Dao, he could definitely grind down this 1,000 hands white-boned dermic incarnation with boundless energy. Once Shao Chun thought of it, he immediately executed it. Using the boundless state of the flawless saber Dao, he executed the four seasons of spring, summer, autumn, and winter at the same time. Immediately, four different scenes appeared on the four sides of the 1,000 hands white-boned dermic incarnation. One side was like a spring breeze with peach blossoms blooming. One side was like a blazing sun burning the land. One side was like a gentle autumn wind, causing leaves to fall from the branches. One side was covered in pure, white snow, freezing the land for 500 kilometers around. Each side was a saber. Compared to the countless sabers earlier, there were only 4 sabers now. The sabers were named Spring, Summer, Autumn, and Winter. Flawless 4 seasons cycle endlessly. Good, good, good. Shao Chun said good 3 times in his heart. He was the one who created this 4-season saber technique in the first place. Flawless 4 seasons was compatible with the flawless saber Dao. Unexpectedly, it went unexpectedly smoothly, allowing him to execute it perfectly. Long Fei's expression slowly turned frustrated. He discovered that the 4 seasons continued endlessly, vaguely resonating with the supreme cycle of the great Dao. Unexpectedly, it showed no intention of stopping. Damn it! 1,000 hands white-boned dermic incarnation explode. Seeing that he was slowly being suppressed, Long Fei roared ferociously. The dermic incarnation of the 1,000 hands white-boned dermic incarnation swelled continuously. Then, without giving Shao Chun any time to react, it exploded. Unexpectedly, Long Fei chose to explode his dermic incarnation. This was a decisive technique that dealt 1,000 damage to the enemy and 800 damage to oneself. Bang! The 1,000 hands white-boned dermic incarnation exploded, and the aura of destruction immediately reached its peak. In an instant, the peach blossoms fell, the blazing sun was extinguished, the autumn wind blew, and the white snow melted. The flawless 4 seasons was destroyed just like that. Wounds covered Long Fei's body. Blood flowed from his eyes, nose, mouth, and ears, making him look extremely horrifying. He no longer had the elegance of a scholar. Long Fei looked at Shao Chun, who was also in a sorry state. His physical body cracked. Then he laughed loudly and said, "My white-boned dermic incarnation only needs to recuperate for a month before the 1,000 hands Buddha statue, and it will recover. From the very start, I was undefeatable. Even if I do not have much vital chi now, you're like a dried-up lamp. You cannot do anything to me." In the end, this match ends in a draw. Shao Chun wiped the blood from the corner of his lips. However, he discovered that he could not wipe it all off. His heart and lungs were torn apart. Without recuperating, he would not be able to recover temporarily. The self-detonation of the white-boned dermic incarnation was horrifying in the first place. Furthermore, the will of destruction from the trident reached its peak. Xiao Chun took the brunt of it and was indeed significantly injured. Unexpectedly, Long Fei still had such a ruthless move. However, this Long Fei was too naive to think of a draw. Xiao Chun smiled and said, "Look up at the sky. Do you not notice anything wrong?" Long Fei's expression changed. When he looked up, he saw the bright moon in the sky, perfect and flawless. It was even more beautiful than any of the bright moons he had seen before. That's not right. Although I did not pay attention to the fight with him, at the very least, one night has passed. Why is the sky not bright yet? Do you find it strange that the sky is not bright yet? Let this bright moon, which has been preparing for you for a long time, tell you. With a flip of my hand, I can make the night disappear. With a flip of my hand, I can make the sun not rise. Xiao Chun pointed, and boundless moonlight gathered at Xiao Chen's fingertip, forming a flawless blade that shot out. Long Fei wanted to dodge, but found that there was nowhere to hide. Flawless bright moon. This world is filled with moonlight. Where can you hide? Kassier. Long Fei was instantly chopped in half. His life force started to fade quickly. Xiao Chen opened his hand and grabbed the trident in the other party's hand. It had been too long. Looking at the dissipating bright moon, some people could not react. They thought that Xiao Chun had absorbed all the moonlight from the real bright moon and scattered it. Unexpectedly, they felt pity for it. However, when the bright moon disappeared, they looked up and saw that there was actually another bright moon in the sky. Everyone's vision blurred, thinking that they were in a dream. After a while, they understood that this was the real bright moon. The battle between Xiao Chun and Long Fei lasted from night to dawn, and then to night again. Chapter 891. This battle was like a dream. If not for the white-boned sovereign's descendant, Long Fei, with his body split in half, some people might have thought that it was a dream. Xiao Chun dragged his weak body and took advantage of the moment when Long Fei's life force was fading to infuse his spiritual sense into the trident. He erased Long Fei's spiritual mark and carved his own spiritual mark deeply into it. A feeling of fatigue appeared in Xiao Chen's mind. The bright moon hung high in the sky, storing up a lot of energy. However, the magic energy in his sea of consciousness was nearly depleted. Xiao Chun endured the dizziness and discomfort as he quickly imprinted his spiritual mark into the trident. As Long Fei's spiritual mark roared in dissatisfaction, the imprint finally succeeded. Without saying anything more, Xiao Chun withdrew the trident into his sea of consciousness. Then, he turned around and retreated, going as far as he could. Most genius cultivators with a large sect behind them would have a martial emperor's will clone inserted into them. Although there was only one chance, Xiao Chun could not be sure whether Long Fei had used it or not. Long Fei's life force was already very weak after being split in half. However, he was a martial sage and cultivated some secret techniques. His brain was not destroyed, so he was not completely dead. If a sovereign martial emperor arrived, it was entirely possible to save Xiao Chun. Kassier. Right after Xiao Chun retreated, a bone spike pierced through the afterimage he left behind. However, the afterimage did not scatter. When one looked carefully, this bone spike, which did not reveal much of its sharpness, actually pinned Xiao Chen's afterimage to space. It truly pierced through space. You run really fast. I would be too embarrassed to make a move against a junior like you a second time. Take care. A figure of light came out from Long Fei's forehead. Its appearance was indistinguishable, but one could hear a suppressive voice. The moment the voice rang out, all the cultivators present, including Xiao Chun, could not endure that pressure. They all bent over and prostrated themselves. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Water splashed everywhere. Several cultivators, whose cultivations were too low, could not endure the pressure and fell into the sea. White-Bone King of the Corpse God Palace. This is a clone of his. It is too strong, too strong. This is a sovereign martial emperor, inexplicably strong. I cannot resist him at all. If he wanted to kill me, he would not even need to lift a finger. The White-Bone King's will avatar stretched out a clump of bloody light and slowly connected the two halves of Long Fei's corpse. sovereign martial emperors already cultivated an undying body. Their understanding of the secrets of the physical body had already reached an inconceivable level. It was not strange for such a wondrous scene to come from a sovereign martial emperor. However, even if a sovereign martial emperor made a move and saved his life, Long Fei would need at least half a year to recover. Of course, although he didn't gain as much comprehension as Xiao Chun, he still benefited a lot from this battle. After half a year of cultivation, he would probably make great progress. The scarlet light turned into a cocoon, and the white-boned sovereign's will clone carried Long Fei, who was in the scarlet cocoon. Then, it turned into a beam of light and flew into the universe, ignoring this matter. Huang Pufeng heaved a sigh of relief and said loudly, "Goodbye, white-boned king." The factions of the Bushin Palace also sent off the white-boned sovereign respectfully in unison. No matter what, the white-boned sovereign still had the air of senior. He did not vent his anger on the others because of Long Fei's miserable state. In that case, there would not be any changes to the bet between Xiao Chun, Long Fei, and Wei Hua. Clearly, these major characters did not intend to participate in these small fights. Furthermore, while the juniors of the corpse race and the human race were fighting to the death, the upper echelons of the two sides might be chatting happily, discussing how to go on experiential training in the starry heavens, or exchanging their comprehensions on cultivation. The 5 major races of the Kunlun realm had an explosive number of people, more than 10 billion. Although it was hard to become an Emperor Wu, there would be a few Emperor Wu in less than 200 years. Furthermore, Emperor Wu could live for at least 2,000 years. As of now, there were many Emperor Wu in the Kunlun realm. The truly rare ones were sovereign martial emperors. As of now, there were no more than 20 known sovereign martial emperors. At such a level, it would be hard for them to have any deep grudges or hatred. Most things could be resolved through discussion. Wei Hua showed a sullen expression as he waved his hand hatefully. The corpse race will keep its promise. 3 days from now, we will leave the 2 resource stars that we occupied. Let's go. Wei Hua led the corpse race cultivators and a large group of demonic corpses away in a somewhat sorry state. On this trip to Dragonwood Star, they had suffered a double loss. Not only did they not achieve their goal of plundering, but they also lost 2 resource stars that they occupied. This was a heavy loss. The Muddy Sky Gate was here to fish in troubled waters in the first place. Given the current situation, there were no benefits to reap or a good show to watch. Then, Qi Wuxua looked at the people of Bushin Palace, who all had malicious gazes. He chuckled. Naturally, he would not remain here for long. Xiao Chun, I, Qi Wuxua, admire you greatly. You truly live up to your reputation as a descendant of the Qing Emperor. When you have time in the future, come to the Primal Chaos Domain's Muddy Sky Gate as a guest. I, Qi Wuxua, will definitely host a banquet and put on a grand show. After saying that, Qi Wuxua led the group of Muddy Sky Gate cultivators away on the King Grade warship. If they did not leave now, the people of Bushin Palace might get angry and send them flying. If that happened, they would not be able to leave even if they wanted to. 3 days later, Bushin Palace successfully took over 2 resource stars. The news of Xiao Chen's 2 consecutive victories, defeating the Iron Hand Sovereign, the Underworld Fire Sovereign, and the White Bone Sovereign, reached the upper echelon of Bushin Palace. According to the agreement, Xiao Chun had obtained 1 million military merits. Furthermore, he had found out the spies and killed some corpse race martial sages and various demonic corpses. His total military merits reached more than 1.5 million. However, Xiao Chun did not attend the distribution of military merits at the headquarters. Firstly, he was recuperating, so it was not convenient for him to go. Secondly, Huang Pufeng would not be able to reward Xiao Chun with this amount of military merits. No matter how much Huang Pufeng gave him, it would not be worth 1.5 million military merits. However, after the distribution, Huang Pufeng met with Xiao Chun alone and symbolically gave him 1 million astral coins, some black pattern gold, heavenly windgrass, and other specialties of Dragonwood Star. At the same time, he also gave Xiao Chun a piece of news. 3 months from now, Bushin Palace will hold a king conferral ceremony at the headquarters of the Haotian Star. At that time, they will carve out a province in the Tianwu domain as your territory. Of course, there will be other rewards as well. After Xiao Chen heard that, a smile appeared on his pale face. Xiao Chen did not care about the other benefits. As long as he could get a province, he would have profited greatly. In the future, when he established the Dragon's Gate, he would not have to worry about a place to build his foundation. However, Xiao Chen did not know which province they would carve out for him. He hoped that it would not be an overly desolate land. There were several desolate and uninhabited places in the Tianwu domain. Firstly, there were no resources. Secondly, there were no people. He would have to start from scratch. That would be too tiring. However, this did not matter. What Xiao Chen cared about was land. Although the Kunlun realm was vast, there were plenty of desolate lands. However, if you really wanted to find a place without an owner, it would be almost impossible. Even an abandoned place would have a nominal owner. These people were not people to offend. If Xiao Chen was not careful, he might end up in big trouble. This Xiao would like to ask Lord Huangpu a question. Can you tell me who the current palace master of my Bushin Palace is? The Bushin Palace was made up of the various large sects of the Tianwu domain. Among them, the three holy masters held absolute leadership. However, Xiao Chen had heard that the palace master was not one of the three holy masters. Huangpu Feng smiled and said, "The palace master has not made an official appearance for several thousand years already. You juniors might not know this, but that is normal. Right now, the palace master of the Bushin Palace is a powerful sovereign martial emperor of the same generation as the Qing Emperor, the Thunder and Lightning Palace's Thunder King. So it is him. That makes sense. With such a person as the strongest human expert to keep the three holy masters in check, it would be best for him to be the palace master of the Bushin Palace." The Thunder King was from the same generation as the Qing Emperor. Now he was close to 10,000 years old. His strength was unfathomable. It was because of him that the human race could barely withstand the immense pressure from the deity race. Since he was from the same generation as the Qing Emperor, Xiao Chen wondered if this Thunder King had any friendship with the Qing Emperor. If he did, he should be able to attend this king conferral ceremony without worrying too much. He would not have to fear the three holy masters too much. When Xiao Chen had time, he would see if he could get some information from the Haotian martial emperor. After Huangpu Feng left, a light flashed on Xiao Chen's forehead, and a trident appeared in his hand. He revealed a smile in his eyes. For the time being, the greatest benefit of this trip was the trident of destruction. Unexpectedly, the ruined throne could be refined into something else. This broadened Xiao Chen's train of thought. Could the massacre throne and the death throne be refined into weapons as well? Clearly, if they were refined into weapons, the thrones would be able to bring out greater might. It was a very simple example. When fighting with others, would you be able to bring out the power of a throne or a weapon? The answer was obvious. A weapon was a lethal weapon, and a throne was a precious weapon. If one wanted to bring out the will within it and bring out greater might, it would be more practical to refine it into a weapon. Furthermore, the shape of the throne was just the surface. It did not affect the state it represented. After thinking about this, Xiao Chen already had an answer in his heart. It would be better to refine the throne into a weapon. However, Xiao Chen had sworn that if he could not resurrect Ao Jiao, he would not use another saber. Furthermore, now that Xiao Chen was using his body as a saber, he did not need a physical saber. He was the saber. It would be better to refine the throne into another weapon. Xiao Chen did not think about this for now. He put away the ruined trident and took out a jade strip with a flip of his hand. The contents of the jade strip were the snow race's inheritance that Xiao Chen was interested in. The snow race could be considered a strong, ancient race. They had uncanny control over the power of ice and snow. Xiao Chen had heard that several ancient races had powerful geniuses recently. He wondered if the snow race had such geniuses as well. Xiao Chen sent his spiritual sense into the jade strip and closed his eyes. Then, he started to carefully comprehend the information in it. The information in the jade strip was as vast as the sea. It talked about the origins of ice and snow, how to control ice and snow, and how to grasp ice and snow. Xiao Chun cultivated the will of thunder. He could not waste time cultivating the will of ice and snow again. The information in the Jade Strip could only be used as a reference. However, the Winter Saber and the Flawless Four Seasons touched on the Ice Dao. Xiao Chun could use the knowledge in the Jade Strip to complete his Winter Saber.